Here we go.
I mean, it's
All right,
always
all right,
clean, but
all right. I just told y'all it was 1 second left. Yep, yep, yep. We are back for another open court discussion live in the counselor's corner. I am your host, David Lorenzo Glover, aka the controversial counselor. Joining me um, on the panel is the big bad wolf, Herb Lewis.
Oh,
We also have Miss Anita, and we shall see who else joins the panel. You never know. We might have a racist jerk joining us again.
that was so crazy.
Recap from Monday's episode: Who protects black men from malicious people? Well, we found out racist folks will always find you, but one thing for certain and two things for sure: they will continue to hide behind avatars and take off running once they say their malicious crap. Okay, enough of that foolishness. Tonight, October 17th, we will lead off with the segment one: marriage. Is it time to replace the traditional marriages with something else, such as s- starter marriages, or maybe a companionship marriage? Or what about parenting marriage? So we're going to dive into other options because we know right now and for a while, this regular traditional marriage crap ain't been working. Not for all. For some people it works, or they fake like it works. Now let's discuss the final two talking points. Segment two. Do black parents push their kids out the house too early? Are we the only ones who do that? Segment three is communication for men a lost art when it comes to approaching women. Oh my greatness. Another loaded plate in the counselor's corner. Get your popcorn and your pork rinds ready. Please like and share our video and please subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Controversial Counselor. And by the way, we have reached the plateau of over 500 subs. So that's been a long grind, but hopefully this next 500 is a little easier. But thanks for everybody who subscribed to the channel, and for you who are watching, please hit the subscribe button, the bell button to be notified. Please like and share the video, get these likes up, and hey, let's keep rolling. Oh, Daphne said it works for some. All right, so housekeeping information. We're gonna go with the lady first. Anita, what's good with you? What's going on since last week?
Not much.
Not much, nothing at all.
Well, family stuff, school stuff. That's about it.
Okay, going on with you, Herb? Just got back from the land, huh?
man, I tell you, boy, um, it was well. First of all, it was a long weekend, man. I worked that night from 11 to 7. Came home, got a couple hours set eye. Picked up the car and drove down there. Got down there, had to do a little bit of finagling to get my tickets because the whole system is set up is when you do a virtual ticket transfer. At least in this particular instance, it was on another site, so I had to create an account there to get to that site. But it all worked out. The hotel I picked was literally 10-15 minute walk from the hotel. Now, what I discovered is unlike the GPS system when you're doing a location for a building and you're in a car, they account for road obstructions. They don't when you're walking. So I put in the GPS, the location of the hotel, and I'm walking back and I get to an obstruction in the road. I'm like, wait a minute. According to the GPS, it's just here, but it's not. So I double back, walk back around, and I'm like, what the hell is this? I do it again, and it reorientates me. And I'm following, and I'll get to it. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. What's going on? So I walk around to the other side of the construction barrier, walk through there, and literally there's about a 10-foot passageway that you actually can get through, and the hotel's right there. So after that, I get to the hotel. course, the restaurant and the hotel is closed, so I have to go somewhere to get food because I hadn't ate all day. Literally, I picked up some McDonald's on my way there. This is about 12:30. Took me about a little over 4.5 hours to get there. So I hadn't ate all day. Didn't get anything at the stadium. Had a great time at the game. Bumped into some really, really cool Cleveland fans. And the way they do a lot of things in between the innings there is very unique. I've never seen it anywhere else. And of course, you don't see it when you're watching the broadcast because they're away. So there's an atmosphere at a baseball game or any professional sporting event that I've been to that you can only get there in person. That's why I always encourage anybody, if you have the means, to attend a professional sporting event, do it. It's a once in a lifetime thing, especially postseason. And this is the second time I've actually seen a postseason game in Cleveland. The last time I didn't buy a ticket. This time I made sure I got a ticket. So I had a blast on it. But like I said, after I got to the hotel, got back, got my food, I went to Domino's. Okay, why not? And I made a comment on the Dallas game to some people that were sitting there, and that conversation took on a life of its own. And I will say this about the emerging American educational system. Everybody does not partake in it the same way that I did. So there were some things that I thought were, what I would consider to be common knowledge. That isn't common knowledge. And I'll just leave that at that. But I had a great time, man. Got back here about 10:30, 11 o'clock, man, and mostly have been asleep all day. So I am beat, but I'm thrilled, that Yankees won game 4. It was a real nice time.
All right, so we're in a rain delay tonight, right?
I figured as much. It started to rain there late and very late. So about the top of the 8th, bottom of the 9th, I tried to beat the traffic out because, we're like 34,000. They announced the attendance at 34,000. I was like, there's going to be a lot of traffic. And I thought I'd actually be able to catch Subway on the way back because it was open when I came up there. When I went by, it was closed. I was like, oh, figures. So, yeah.
All right. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself in the land. So for me, same old, like Anita. Work, dealing with kids. You know how it is. Every day is I ain't gonna say every day is a struggle, but it's mostly a struggle. But we make it through. So, and I'll probably elaborate more as we go on. But we gonna talk about why we here, and that's this marriage thing that, as Daphne said, it works for some, but is it time to start really considering another option? I know everybody has those dreams of that walking down the aisle, big family, reception, and all of that other stuff. But man, what other? Let's talk about this, and I'm gonna come with you, Herb. This is one of your talking points. So, what did you have in mind when you thought of this particular talking point?
Well, as usual, man, I'm always browsing the streets of YouTube, and this one came by the way of the master teacher posting a link from the lead attorney. If you don't know who the lead attorney is, he's a divorce attorney, and he's been practicing for, I believe he's retired now, but he's been practicing for 20 years. So I clicked on the link and I listened to it. It was about 21 minutes, and it was packed full of some very, very poignant points on why marriage can still be beneficial to some people. And one of the things he talked about was a marriage of convenience. Now, for older people, who need somebody to be a caretaker, it could be an advantageous situation. You get somebody that lives in one person, doesn't matter if it's the male or the female, might be taking care of all the bills in conjunction. The other person provides care for them, cook, laundry. There may be some intimacy, there may not be. And those persons may have an understanding that the other person is allowed to seek intimate companionship outside of that marriage. So, for all intended purposes, that's an arranged relationship between those two individuals. Also, it's like something a former panel member said, she would have been okay with having a marriage and her having her own place and her husband having their own place, and they do everything together. But at the end of the day, they go their own separate ways and they stay in their own homes and their own beds. Which at the time when I heard it, I was like, that wouldn't work so well. And now after listening to the broadcast, I was like, you know what? People are starting to seek alternative means to what we consider to be old style marriages. So green cards was another thing that he talked about. Some people come here from another country to looking to immigrate, and of course, one of the easiest ways to get a green card is through marriage. Another way, the military benefits, and I'm sure you know about that as well, Anita. That a lot of people get married just on the basis that if you're a spouse of a military veteran, you get a really, really nice package in terms of what you're entitled to. So there's a lot of reasons outside of what we traditionally view in terms of marriage that a lot of other people are seeking that works for them. And if it works for them, then, it would behoove the intelligent person to say, well, what can I get out of a union for somebody as long as it benefits both of us? So, it was something that I thought, why not discuss that here, since a lot of people in our age demographic seem to be anti-marriage, or, they want to be single. They don't realize you can get all of that provided you select the right mate. And this is why we always talk about, and this is one of the reasons I always talk about the 100 questions. See, a lot of people, when they hear that 100 questions thing, at least from my perspective, they think I'm using it to exclude people, and they would not necessarily be incorrect. But the thing that allows you to do is sit through what it is that you want. So you can always tailor the 100 questions to what you want to know and what information you wish to gather. So if you ask a question that seems like it would exclude somebody, you find out that, hey, this is something I could use. This is something I could rock with. This is something I can see myself engaging in long term. Then, hey, that person might make your short list. And it would be advantageous to you to seek out more information regarding that individual. You never know when you might find somebody that wants to row in your boat. So, like I said, I just thought it was something that it would be good to peruse here.
Man, that living alone together marriage, that's real, excuse my language, real fucking sweet. Sounds real sweet.
I mean, people do it, man. Like I said, when I heard it, I was just like, wait a minute. Not to mention the tax advantages, because you get to file married, which allows you to take out bigger tax deductions. So, I mean, 2 residents, you get to file. I mean, there's so many things that the lead attorney mentioned that I just never really considered it in scope. And I was just like,
Now,
right.
even with some of it, parenting, marriage, things like that, we know that some people, that's the reason why they got married to begin with, because they both wanted to, they had children or a child, and they said, well, let's do this the right way. But then, probably down the road, they figured out, they never set parameters. And sometimes people go into that and everything, the child was conceived not in, I'm not going to say perfect term, a perfect situation, because that's relative perfect, but it may not had been what they wanted to do, but they try to work it out. And when you're trying to work something out and you're trying and it's not genuine or whatever the case is, there's always going to be turmoil and chaos. But I think if you set parameters, say, yeah, we're going to get married, but this is how it's going to be done, and you put stuff out on the table, then maybe you'll get different outcomes. So we just trying to open up this conversation, but we're going to hear from Miss Anita, and because I think she's down with that living alone together marriage. Like that.
No, I'm not down with that at all. I think if I get married to somebody, we're living together. No, I don't think, I know. But from my perspective, as we evolve as a world, as North America, as America, our culture changes and evolves, and we have certain certain adaptations, and so things change, our culture changes, our ideas of marriage and what a family is supposed to be changes, and such as my family, I consider my dog my family, my son. And there's certain states now that do give paternity leave. It sounds kind of silly, but like I said, our culture is changing along with same-sex marriages. And back in the day, that was unheard of. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I can identify with the changing cultures and the changing views of what a marriage should be. Um, from me personally, I would like to have a traditional marriage. That doesn't always work. I get it. And everybody know, well, most you guys know I was in the military, and the two guys that I would have married, they passed away. That was difficult. So maybe that's not why I'm married today. But certain situations come up like that. And especially in the military, and also in the military, it's difficult sometimes to have a relationship because we're leaving to go on training, we're deploying 10 months after we get back, we're slotted to go again. But for me, being in the military and having a military fiance, it was, I wouldn't say easier, but kind of easier because we both knew and understood the military way of life. So if you get two people that understand your way of life, and I think it can work out a little better, a little bit more traditional if that's what two people want. But it takes two people to have the same views to make it work. And back in the 80s, I'll say 50s, 60s, 70s, the traditional marriage thing, there was a morality to it, I would say. Maybe people appreciated the sanctity of marriage and the marriage vows, whereas today, like I said, since our culture has gone through some changes and evolution with laws and what can and can't be done, as we open up those, I don't know, those doors, people tend to make different decisions than they did back in like my grandma's age. My grandma was born in 1913, so she's seen a lot of things, been through a lot of things, and even though before my pappy passed away, even though they didn't get along, they were still together because it was unheard of for her to separate and get a divorce. Like I said, she was born in 1913. So, I mean, they both had their own views, but they both worked it out somehow. So I think, like I said, reiterating, today's day and age, it's a different culture of what a marriage looks like and a family looks like. So we have to adjust to that. If somebody's that you're with isn't on the same page, then maybe that's not the right one for you.
Well, one of the ones, after looking up some of the options, a starter marriage talks about people giving a spouse a chance to see what marriage is really like a trial period. Like, let's try this out for a little bit and see how it is. And I wonder with that, is it one of those things that is kind of low key, that you're trying it out before you do the whole big thing? Because a lot of times people have these big festivities and all that stuff, then that should be over in like a year or so, and you didn't spent some people didn't spent 10, 15, $20,000 on it. And so to me, a starter marriage wouldn't be that bad, like a trial period. Let's just see how, let's set some goals. Let's see how we gonna make this happen, and see if we can extend it, and then move forward. but that's just one of the things. We also had somebody join us.
You could
Are you
just
still
call me
with us?
Mr. Z. I've spoken to Herbert before. I've been on your channel
Hey, what's
before.
going on, man?
What's going on,
What's
man?
going on? What's going on,
voice?
Herbert?
So
What's
what's
up?
your
What's up?
take on this, on everything we said about this marriage, traditional marriage stuff?
You know, as a 36-year-old not married, in a serious relationship though, and it's looking like it will be marriage. Um, I understand the divorce rate, and I too watched the BGS video that Herbert was referencing, the lead attorney's video, and you know, the lead attorney did give me something to think about also, but I'm not necessarily marrying out of convenience. If we do get married, it will be, you know, obviously the tangibles, but you know, more of an emotional and love thing. Um, although, you know, because I know the divorce rate, because I know, you know, women file 70-80% of divorces, blah, blah, blah. I know the entry point usually, or so what I call it is the buy-in, right? The buy-in point right now for marriage is somewhere in like $45,000 a year. If you're making less than that as a man, you're probably not going to get married.
Oh.
And if you do, yeah, the buy-in. So they did this mock kind of marriage thing, and they were able to determine that women start to consider you for marriage around that 42-ish thousand dollar plus mark, which is interesting because the median income in America is somewhere around for men, I'm sorry, the median income is somewhere around that 40 to $42,000 a year mark. So when you look at that, and by the way, so random numbers, this is from American Enterprise Institute, and this was from around, what are we in 2022? So I want to say like 2017. Um, 50, let me do it the other way. 26% of poor Americans are married, 39% of middle class Americans, and 56% of upper middle class and above Americans are married. So it is an income thing, you know, and excuse my background, I am driving. But yeah, so it is about, you know, your money. It is about income, right? The number one reason for divorce is finances. So we are back in the place borderline feudal era where if you're poor, if you're a working class or poor man, then there's really no reason to get married. And I think that's going to hurt men and women because of our concepts of love and intimacy and marriage. Um, you know, especially that's been fostered over the past century and a half with the Victorian era. You know, I do think that's going to affect the way we think of it. I also think that childbearing is linked to this now more and more. If, for those of you that know that the childbirth rate is going down across the country for all races, right? For Black people, it's 1.7 and some change. For whites, it's 1.6 and some change. And you need 2.1 to maintain your population. So
Right.
if it wasn't for immigration, the U.S. would be net negative when it comes to birth rate. Even Latinos, after the second generation of immigrants, they settle into a normal American birth rate around 1.6, 1.7. So, you know, I'm tying all of that into the marriage thing by saying I do agree with the panel where marriage is going to look different, and I think it's going to be an elite institution. Elites will get married and stay married. Everybody else will get married and get divorced, and poorer Americans will never get married. That, and it's unfortunate that's what we are, but you know, that's what we are. And I'll pause right there.
Yeah, that sounds bad because I always was taught love conquers all. So even if you poor or whatever the case is, you can come through it. I'm being
I got something for
facetious
you though,
right now.
brother. I know, but what does, and here's the thing, and Charles will probably already know because I'll be anti-capitalist as hell. What does love look like in a capitalist society? Oops.
Officer Charles.
Woo!
Woo! Woo!
So
What's
you
going
want
on,
my
brother?
so you want my opinion about modern marriage in the modern day?
Of course. Of
It's
course.
a joke. It's a damn joke.
Why is
See,
it a joke?
it's a joke because everything is taken as comical now. One, when you have a bunch of people who are raised with no integrity, no sense of duty, no honor, everything becomes a joke. You don't want to raise your kids. I've just got off, Instagram on my DMs. It's a female friend of mine. I knew her even before my son was born. And she talked about submission, for example, right? She gave me this video of this simp who says, well, if you want a man to submit to you, you should submit to all the bills. I said, submission doesn't have anything to do with monetary gain, value, or what I can buy. It's either you got it or you don't. Your submission is not for bargaining or sale, just like my masculinity. That's the equivalent of me saying, well, I'm not going to protect you. Here's the gun. Whoever's downstairs for the home invasion, you go tell me how it goes. And I look at it because, one, especially as a man, what do you get out of it? You're not getting somebody who has a duty to raising children because, hell, you're a counselor. You know how it goes. Mm-hmm. Our boys, when they reach to the 8th grade, only 10% read on level.
Yeah.
And she was giving me all these excuses of, well, what about the moms who take care of the kids and do all this? I said, you got fathers who don't even get child support because, women don't pay child support even when they're court ordered. They take that court order and just wipe their ass with it. And they're like, okay, I cook, I clean, I fix stuff around the house. I said, if y'all complaining about dealing with the kids, everybody who's been in a 2-parent household, they'll usually tell you the dad was the fun one. But they didn't try dad like they tried mom because they knew there were stricter consequences. So when we look at this, right, if you're not raising kids because people aren't having kids like they used to, if you're not building strong family values, if you're not building a strong community, it's a joke. And unfortunately, people may say, well, no, my marriage is truthful. I said, okay. Back in the day, your grandmother, your grandfather had to go through something called segregation. And depending on how old some people are, your grandparents might even be older than that.
Yeah.
So you're going to tell me that when your grandfather and grandmother lived in a tin hut, because black people were not rich, especially not back then, and they were living on a farm, did she need to buy? Did she need him to buy her a half a $1,000,000 ring, a $20,000 ring, for her to do her commitment? No. Did he need her to be a bad bitch for him to actually be a man and actually? No. A lot of people took the practicality and the functionality out of relationships, let alone marriage.
So a lot of it is showcasing.
Yeah,
man. I'll tell you this real quick before I shut up.
I'm gonna follow up after Charles, because when you said showcasing, you sparked something in me. Go ahead.
I'm gonna say this because you did spark something. I have a buddy of mine. I was at his first wedding, even though I told him when he got married again, what the hell, you ain't learned your lesson the first time? But anyway, I kept telling him, I was one of his groomsmen. I kept whispering to him, I will make sure the limo is still running. If you want to back out now, I know how to make it look like an accident, and we could change your identity.
Hysterical.
He went on with it. But this is the problem that I have with men. Because I know every time people think I got an issue with women. No, I got an issue with everybody. Men do not believe women of the person and the character they show them. If she shows you she has mental issues, she's not on your plan, she will turn on you like a rabid dog, believe her. When they went through marriage counseling, his counseling was 20 minutes with the pastor. Hers was 2 hours.
Damn.
Because there was a lot of stuff to unwrap. with her mentally. Hey, you're a counselor. You know how that goes. Tell me if I'm lying. And then come to find out, they paid a good amount of money for this wedding, the reception, and they were separated longer than they were actually in the house together. I want you to think about that. And I'm gonna say this, you got to really vet each other before you even think about marrying, because you're not, as my father would say, you don't just marry who you love. You marry who shit you could take.
Yeah.
You may not be able to take their flaws. They may not be able to take yours. And then on top of that, you may not know what demons that are in that other person's closet. And I'll end right there.
Yeah, you dropped some jewels,
know,
brother.
And Charles came with, and when we are living through the time of marriages being a status symbol, right? And I don't think it actually bodes well, because it's not just the marriage, the entire game, everything from sex to intimacy, the price tag. First of all, there's a price tag. Secondly, the price tag is going up, right? And that's for everyday people. We're not talking about your chisel chin Tyrones and Brads, and we're not talking about for the paymasters that got the money. We're talking about everyday working guys. It's these relationships are becoming untenable because the price tag, right? The women are just becoming far too expensive for what they're actually offering, which is a whole lot of sass and attitude, and that's about it. And maybe an education, but that doesn't mean anything because she's not planning on spending any money on you anyway. So so you know, and there is a fallout from that, right? We're witnessing the fallout of that. And I think that's something that the majority of society is not really considering, right? When Morgan Stanley comes out with their memo that says, some 45 or some odd percent of millennial women will be single between 2018 and 2030, that's not something that we should be glad about. And now it's perfect for the corporations, because they're like, ooh, single women spend more money and this is going to be perfect for us, and we're going to make bank off of this. But for the rest of us, that's not actually a good thing, when your nieces and your daughters are crying to you because they're insufferable. They don't realize they're insufferable, and they can't keep a man worth a damn, right? But once again, for the corporations, that's great. That's a great windfall. I think it's greater than marriage, I think, is what I'm saying. I think we have not raised the past 2 or so 3 generations to be able to connect to the opposite sex, whether that's practically or not. They're not connecting to the opposite sex emotionally, and they're definitely not connected to them practically, right? On a practical level, on a logical level, even when it just comes to the sheer numbers of it all. And so you end up in the situation we're in now. And I like I said, I think marriage is going to become more and more of an elite institution, and I don't know how much if humanity is built for that, because it's not just the marriage, it's the childbearing also. And I'll pause right there.
I'm going to say this real quick. The price isn't going up. It's called relationship inflation.
Go ahead. What you mean by that? Go into detail.
In other words, the price is going up for something that is actually of lesser value. You want me to pay exorbitant prices for somebody who's not a traditional person in the first place? You want me to always hold my style and my guile to be a traditional man. You want me to be a provider. Just like I told you with Shorty on the DM. She said, well, a leader, a man should be a leader. And I said, you women don't want leaders. She's like, how? I could prove it with one statement. If that man makes a decision on the way the family's going to go, are you going to come back and circumvent him and question him about his decision? Well, yeah, if it's not practical, then you don't want a leader.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they disagree doesn't mean that she doesn't want a leader.
She doesn't want a leader.
By marriage, that's why you have to communicate.
She doesn't.
I think what Charles is trying to say is somebody has a final word.
Here's the problem. If you already talked about it, you already gave your side, he makes the final decision, that's it. Are you going to go against what that man says and question him and sabotage what he says?
It depends on what he says.
And see,
Well,
this
hold
is
on,
the
Anita.
but let me ask you this question, right? You go to your job. Your supervisor says whatever task that needs to be done, it needs to be done by this time or this date. Are you going to go back to him and say, well, I can't do it, and question his decision? You know why?
Fall in line.
That's a
Yeah.
little different than being in
Because
a marriage.
he's fired. And guess what? Y'all don't want to do it to your men because you don't think he's a leader in the first place. Y'all don't want leaders. You want figureheads. You want somebody with title only and no power and authority. Because I'm going to tell you one thing
That's
about
not
me.
true for-
It is very true. You
No.
just said it.
I mean, for me personally, I think, I mean, I posted it on the page about alpha males. I like a man to be in charge, be a protector, a provider, a leader. But there's
no but.
What was
There's
that?
no but. If I'm your commander in the military,
There you go.
there are buts.
Hold on.
Once you say but, then that
If there's no
disqualifies
but,
everything.
I'm gonna say this. Excuse me for a minute. I'm trying not to take over the show, but this is very important what I'm gonna tell you. Right now, I have my first contract with my security firm this Friday. Right?
Congratulations.
Thank you. Guess who's the leader? Guess who's wearing the rank of colonel? Guess who's the commander? I'm going to have armed and unarmed people at this event. What do you think's going to happen if somebody questions or challenges what the hell I have for them to do? Especially if I need you in a vital role.
That is different than being in a marriage.
No, it isn't, because guess what? In a marriage, if that man's the leader, should he not fire his wife?
No. That's different. That's different than being in a.
His wife is disobedient to a decision they already talked about, and she goes and sabotage what the family plot was supposed to do. What should be the penalty she pays?
I mean, can you give me an example of what you're talking about?
I'm going to give you a brilliant example, right? Husband and wife.
If we have 4 kids and he wants another one, I'm going to be like,
no. That's not even. Most men are going to be like, one is enough. Most men are not looking for large families because one.
Not these days.
Because guess what? Because if she leaves, they're going to use those kids against us.
Mm-hmm.
Statistics have shown that. You can shake your head. Statistics have shown it.
Okay,
I'm going to give you a good example. Husband and wife talks about it. They've been married for about a year or 2. They live in an apartment. They're saving up money to get a house, right? Husband says, okay, this decision we're making, we're going to save up $50,000. We're going to put it in a joint account. She goes to the joint account and spends $40,000. What penance should she pay for doing something so disobedient that the man has made the final decision on?
I don't know. I mean, I guess is there some feedback on my end?
It might be, because you're fine.
Okay. I totally forgot what I was going to say now. Never mind. Oh, I know what I was going to say. I mean, these days, a lot of people live together before they make that decision to get married. So if you have a relationship and then decide to move in together, you guys, and during that time frame, you're going to be like, hey, we can live together for like a year, and you discuss those important, I guess, ethical, moral standards of living, values, relationship goals.
But I'm going to stop you right there because you're not answering the question I posed.
Then when they get married, okay, nobody's going to be the boss of me. But
That's not what that's if you say
okay, nobody's
you
going to
want
be the boss of me, and relationships take compromise on both ends.
here's the problem. If you're the leader, does that mean by default you're the boss?
Yeah,
It
see,
depends on the situation dictates.
Is your supervisor the boss?
yeah, see, that's where it's all wrong at.
Yes.
Would you, if your supervisor says, let's say you're pick insert job here. We'll go easy for office job. I need these 5 reports done by the end of day. You only get 1 done. And you had more than enough time to get those 5 reports done. What would happen to you?
I don't know.
You
I
would,
mean,
you would either be disciplined.
obviously,
You
but
would
if
either
I think it's not a logical plan for me to get all 5 done by my supervisor, I will let them know. I don't think I can get all 5 done. That's not a logical plan of action.
So if you're telling me
It happens sometimes.
if your supervisor said I need these 5 reports done, and on average you can actually do 7, there's little to no excuse, right?
Then
So-
I should get them all done.
So
Yeah,
you would be
I agree with that.
you would be penalized either by being reprimanded by either suspension, docking of pay, even up to being terminated if it's enough heinous enough, of course, case. So let me ask you this one: if the man and the wife speak on a subject and he's making the final decision after his wife advised him and they spoke about it, he makes the decision, we need these $50,000, we're going to save it, we're going to squeeze our belts, we're not going to go out as much or at all for a couple of months. You stack up $50,000, she spends 40 of it. What should be the penance that she pays?
I don't know. I never thought about it that way, but from my perspective, it would be obviously wrong to do that as a woman.
But what price should she pay?
I don't know. She should
go-
put that
should she have to-
$40,000 back in there.
Should she have to work the sweat of her brow, just like that man had to put that money up? Or should she be divorced?
I don't think they should get divorced over it.
Woohoo.
How
I think they should
how-
work, I think they should
But see,
work
this is the
together and
great-
come to a conclusion of what's going to happen.
This is the reason why I'm going to say this. Since we got the controversial counselor, let's be controversial. There's a reason why women make bad leaders.
No, I don't believe that.
I do, because women don't have accountability.
Not true.
That's bullshit.
You know, I'll hold on. Let me jump in here for a moment, Charles. There's a movie.
From my experience, that's not true at all.
Tell me one.
Yes, but
Tell me one great female leader in history.
I'm speaking from my
No.
personal experience.
Tell me one.
I don't know. I'm not
Exactly.
hold on. I'm not a history buff. I said from my personal experience, women are more than qualified to be a leader,
How?
a successful leader.
Where?
When you're confident and competent in the job you do.
If
and
you
the
cannot
decisions-
name
Hold
one
on, I'm not
person,
done talking.
You can't name them.
Talk over me, please, because I'm not
No.
done.
We're asking you a
When
question and you
I'm
refuse to
telling you my
answer. Give me
answer.
one.
When a woman is competent and confident in her leadership decisions and that job as a leader, we are just as effective as a man.
No, you're not.
Yes, we are.
No, you're not, because I have no integrity.
That's not true.
Hold on. Let me jump in here for a hot moment and let me address something. Hold on.
Whatever job you have, but where my personal experience in the military, that's not true.
Hold on. Let me just.
Exactly
And
where
I
I
can't
from.
speak
Y'all
for
have
every
no-
woman, and I can't speak for every man.
Let me jump in here and
I've been in
address
the
something that
military,
was.
and I know exactly why women don't have integrity. They look for the easy way out. But go ahead, Herb.
No,
Let me jump in. Let me jump in here for a moment and
I'm not
address a.
gonna do that. some guys do
Anita,
that today because
Anita,
as men.
Anita, let
Yeah.
me jump in here for a moment and address a comment that was made in the comment section. The comment was made that Harriet Tubman was a good leader. The question is, why was she a good leader? You know why? Because people deferred to her leadership, which is exactly what Charles is talking about. If you can't defer to the leadership of an individual, whether it's male or female, then you're sowing the seeds for a disaster. And that's what he's talking about. There's a movie, As Good as It Gets, with Jack Nicholson. He's playing the psychiatrist, I believe, and he walks into his psychiatrist's office, and the receptionist asks him a question. She says, "You rate women so well. It's like you're in here." She touches her heart and then taps her head. And she asks, "How do you do that?" His reply, he said, "I think of a man and I take away all accountability." And at that moment, her face just drains. This is what he's talking about. Women want the best when they're there. And when things fall apart, the first thing they do is they blame a man. They say, "Well, I didn't have a good father," or "My husband was abusive," or any number of excuses that they can come up with to defer the accountability that should be placed within their lap. And at that particular point in time, it becomes, well, what do you want? Do you want to lead or do you want to follow? You can't do both. If we're in a car and a woman's driving and I tell her to make a right and she makes a left, I have no choice but to be in the car with her and go left. And this is what a lot of people don't want to understand about female decision making. It's not whether it's right or it's wrong, it's whether it's prudent. For her to take that $40,000 out of the account when it's already been settled that they were going to use that for something else is the epitome of disobedience and the epitome for her to be divorced.
And I'm going to say this. Put that last comment up, right?
Which
and this
one?
is what I'm going to prove. This is what I'm going to prove to you right now. When women don't like something you say, they want to defer to your mother. Does your mother have no accountability?
Mm-hmm.
Integrity.
Go put that comment back up. Because if I go to her and say, "Does your father have any accountability?" you would get hot mad, wouldn't you? But I'm going to tell you something about my mother, okay? My mother, love her to death, but guess what she did? She was the person when she divorced my father. "Oh, he's no good." But he's been remarried for over 25 years. She can't stand a relationship. So guess who has no integrity? You start to see whose fault it was in that divorce if he's successfully married for a second time. So we're going to go back to this archaic thing that you talk about. Women do not make the sacrifices men are willing to make.
Such as?
Even to this day, men have to protect you 24/7, right? But you can't even get a woman to cook 4 times a week. You can't even, and just like I said on my channel,
what kind of woman you're with. If you want that kind of woman, you can find that kind of woman.
Guess what? How many
Because
of you out
you're
there?
not with that kind of woman doesn't mean you can't find somebody like that. So if you're not with
Put
that
it to
kind
you
of
this
woman,
way.
you should go find that kind of
If
woman.
majority of the women are subconsciously intersectional feminists, then good luck with that. Every time y'all tell men that we should find this type of woman, you act like Themyscira actually exist.
Like what?
It's a Wonder Woman reference. Themyscira, look it up.
Let me say this. Let me say this. As far as that, as far as leadership, leaders know how to pick people that can kind of pick up slack. And I'm basing stuff on my experience in school leadership. There's a lot of women principals, but for damn sure, they make sure they surround themselves with a lot of men that have leadership roles, which makes it easier for them. And I could give you an example. When I was at the for like 10 years, I was at the college level. Then I went was 8 years like at the high school level. Then things didn't work out, so I had to go down to the middle school level, which I dreaded to go down to. But it was a woman principal, and she said, "Man, when your name came across, I already knew." She said, "Before you even interviewed, you already had the job because I knew she wanted to surround herself with someone with some leadership skills." So sometimes it's about choosing the right individuals. What I can say about women, yeah, y'all have probably better executive functioning skills, organization, and stuff like that. But I think when shit hit the shit hit the roof, or whatever the saying is, fan, you need some strong men around. You need some strong men around to be able to kind of ride everything out. Not saying that women can't, but usually women
They don't.
with emotional intelligence understand that and say, "Man, I got to have some strong men right on my team."
And see, here's the crazy part about it, especially with the protection part. And I saw the comment about we're born leaders. Okay, let's take this social experiment called the Black community, right? Y'all had control of the kids for 60 years. Are the kids better or have they gotten worse? And then what happens is when you take the kids from the men, you want to blame the men when you kept the kids away from them. So the integrity part lies there.
Have
So
you been
when I
in
look,
that situation?
what happened?
Have you been in that situation?
I've seen that situation as a police officer time immemorial.
You've
Yeah, that's
seen
one thing you probably not gonna question him on is what he sees, and he sees the
Well,
worst of the worst.
I've seen that for almost 2 decades as an officer and 1 decade as a soldier in the United States Army. I've seen
I
this
didn't hear the last
behavior.
part. You broke up.
I've seen this for almost 2 decades as a police officer and a decade as a soldier in the United States Army.
You've
Every
been in that
time,
movie before.
Mm-hmm.
every time you see this and people want to talk about archaic way of thinking, have you noticed that archaic way of thinking actually protects you? Like I've said many of times on my channel, the first rule of protection is obedience.
Yeah,
How can I protect something that's disobedient?
right.
And ultimately, the spirit, especially in the Black community, is of disobedience. When you tell a woman, "Hey, don't drive the car," drops the car, it's an accident. She knows.
You're breaking up.
Going out and out. You're going in and out, officer.
What about now?
Yeah, there you go.
now.
Like I'm gonna say it again. When you tell a woman, "Hey, don't drive the car. The brakes are bad. Wait till I get the brakes and I'll change them, or I'll get them changed." She drives that car anyway, not listening to the man. She crashes. She wants to blame the man instead of saying these words that every man has to live by. I fucked up. And too many times, when you give women the benefit of the doubt, okay, I'm gonna treat you as an equal. A lot of women don't want equality. They don't want equal opportunities. They want equal outcomes. And then when you look at marriages, they want marriages to be a status symbol, not a duty. Not saying, okay, if he's working late and he's doing extra hours, I'm going to leave him a plate. There's too many times I've heard of men who are married working 16, 20-hour days, and his wife fed the kids and herself and told him he got to go pick up something. Is that not grounds to get rid of you? But let that
I don't
man.
know what kind of women those would be, but I guess you've
lot of
heard
them.
about them.
A lot of them.
I
So
guess
let that
me and my
man.
family,
let-
we don't
but
rock
guess what?
like that. So
But guess what? What would you
me
call
and
a
my
man
sons
who's?
don't rock like that.
What would you call a man who can't protect his family?
Not a protector.
You would call him a bitch.
Call him back.
No, I would not.
You
I
would.
think no.
What would happen if you call a guy who can't provide for his family. But yet, we can never have a bad day. We can never have a bad day.
I don't know what kind of relationships you've had. Doesn't sound like very good ones.
These what people have to realize is when people are speaking on these particular things, they're not necessarily speaking from their experiences. There's a collective of information out there that a lot of people just simply don't avail themselves of. So when these discussions are had, people think they're coming from a personal aspect, and 90% of the time they are not.
Some people,
I'm just gonna.
I think half the people are coming from a personal experience.
I'm not coming from a personal perspective, but I'm going to tell you one thing that makes it hard for men to speak to women on average. Women try to go by individuals.
Correct.
When men have to think in the totality of the situation, society, or insert whatever adjective or adverb here. Because one, just like my female friend, I know men who got
That what?
Went out.
intelligent human being who knows what the words majority mean.
Can you repeat that, Officer Faulkner? You went out in the first half of that statement.
Yeah, it's every time I get to this one area when I'm driving.
Oh, okay.
It's like this. I try to respect women as intelligent human beings because women think in the individual. But then what happens is, and this is a lesson for women listening to me, men take it as being disingenuous when you can't use your mind to know what they're talking about. If they're talking about the community, that means they're talking about a large sum of people with similar or the same backgrounds. So when we're talking about the totality of the Black community, do Black men have, the majority of Black men have custody of their children? The answer is no. And when women try to tell me these examples, I know men, guess what? The world is much bigger than your circle of friends.
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest things I had to understand. When you travel the world, it's a lot bigger than you think. The rules don't, you go outside your block, hell, you go outside your city, the rules change.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
I understand that.
And when I talk about women, yeah, you're going to have variables of women who are good at leadership. But is that the majority? No. No. As a matter of fact, you ask any history teacher who's worth his shit, he will tell you when women usually got in charge of societies, that's when that society fell. Especially if he really likes you and he's really being honest. But see, here's the problem. There's a real reason why a lot of times the leadership is not that good in the female side. And it's very simple. That man can't be selfish. That man has to sacrifice much more than just a job. That man will call a guy for his family or his country. Women just aren't willing to do that. On
Do what?
maybe 9 times out of 10, maybe 1 out of 1,000, maybe. But women typically don't do that, even biologically.
Do what?
Make the ultimate sacrifices.
Such as?
Are you willing to kill and die?
Yes.
Are you gonna,
Well, she might be the wrong person to ask that. She was at the military, so she might be one of the few who can say that.
And even then, in the military, guess what? All the branches now today, every woman can go. I don't see any female Navy SEALs. I don't see any female Army Rangers. I don't see any female Green Berets. Are they willing to do the hardest jobs that the military requires any soldier, Marine, sailor, airman to do?
Yes. Yes, there are some.
Where?
Didn't recently some women pass the Army Ranger course?
They pushed them through, and that was the biggest hubbub in Congress. They fudged up the scores. They couldn't make it. If it wasn't for the instructors intervening, they made a whole thing about this in Congress. You telling me
Ooh-wee. It's a lot to these subject matters.
when,
You
when,
going
when you have a
You're breaking up, so I can't hear
when
what you're
you have a
saying.
guy, when you have men who go in at 200 pounds, 210 pounds, after those 90 days, he's coming out 140, 150 pounds. Average female is about what? 150, 140 in the military, right? You telling me she's going to take that 100-pound pack, march for miles, and she's losing 50 pounds?
Yeah, she's not gonna make it.
That's going to break her ass off. And I'm one of the people who will say, I love fit women. And you know what those fit women tell me? Fuck that.
I mean, personally, in the military, I wouldn't do
Now.
that. I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to go into infantry. I was good doing what I did. My
Here's
boyfriend
the
had passed away. He did go through Ranger School, and I saw it. Yeah,
see.
I understand that part.
We're gonna be like this.
Not every man would qualify either. Not every man would qualify, but not every man would want to do that. So
See,
I really respect guys that are willing to do that, and the certain jobs that are male. I'll say male dominated.
but let me ask you, what's your name again? What's your name again, love?
Anita,
Anita.
like Anita Baker.
Can you sing Angel?
No,
But
shower sing really
let me
good.
put it to you this way, because
I don't think you'll be in my shower with me, but I can shower sing really good.
we'll put the little device on the door to make sure. But
Okay.
I'm gonna address this real quick. Why does everybody got to challenge my mental state when obviously I've shown the capabilities and the proudness to know what the fuck I'm talking about?
And it's a good thing you addressed it, because I was gonna skewer her motherfucking ass.
Because if I because I'm gonna ask you this question. Maybe I should challenge your mental issues of you wearing the hair of a woman that does not grow it naturally. But I'm not gonna challenge your, Stockholm syndrome of being wanted to be looking like a white woman in your picture. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to challenge how so many men operate and the law operating so unjustly. That does not qualify. Actually, it does qualify me, because I can tell you the ins and outs about male officers and female officers. There are some female officers who I'd rather have back me up than some men. You know why? She's not going to try to fight you like a man. You know what she's going to do? She's going to get that liquor bottle or that brick. If I'm struggling with you, which I strongly doubt I'm going to struggle with many people walking terra firma, she's going to take that brick and she's going to air your ass out with it. You know what she's going to do? She's going to put that pepper spray and write happy birthday in your face. She's going to be in the fight. Nobody said she's got to be big and strong like a male. She's going to do what she does best and fight like a lady and use every dirty tactic and advantage to gain control of that suspect.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the one thing I like about some female. Now, if we go to the military, and this is what I like to tell you because I've researched many of this, and trust me, just to let you know, you got to be a little crazy to join the military, fire department, and police department. You know why? Women and children can only walk around the streets as freely as the violence, fear, and respect their men can invoke. So yeah, I will be crazy, because you know why? You will want a motherfucker like me defending you.
Yep.
Now, to answer this part,
I mean, same here.
If the military really wanted to use women at their fullest capabilities, and I've researched this many a times, instead of number one is either you're going to make an all-female special forces unit and train them up the same way you do the men. Make it fair. Put them out on missions, see what they do. But what they seen women do best, if you're going to put them in combative situations, one, there are no female Navy SEALs. Stop that. There are no female Navy SEALs. And then two, there are no female Navy SEALs. Let me tell you why. Because if there was a female Navy SEAL, they would plaster that shit all over the news. So stop. Two, one, the ultimate job, one of the three top jobs in a combative situation for women would be sniper. One,
Yep.
because women are flexible, and if you look at women's elbows compared to men, because y'all have this evolutionary advantage, because y'all had to carry babies, you can carry and cup that rifle a lot longer than men can. Then you make a smaller target, and we could put you in places that men typically can't fit, and you can hold that position way longer. Two, espionage, meaning spying. You get a pretty lady and a couple of drinks, that man will tell you the last time he pissed in the bed.
And this is, and to what Officer Faulkner is saying, this is borne out in two instances. One, the U.S. Civil War. Women were always permitted to go back and forth between North and Southern lines. And two, World War II in the Soviet Union, women were some of the top snipers ever.
Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, one of the best snipers in Russia, she was friends with Eleanor Roosevelt. New female. No, it isn't, because guess what? I'm gonna really point this out, because really, if these females actually made these things, this will be pointed out in the news. There are no female special operators. Then on top of that, do you know how long Green Beret training is? Do you know how many miles you got to march with your sacks?
About
And
too
see,
many that I want to do.
I'm gonna put it to you this way. This is a lady who was in the military. Ask her how many women are gonna do that. You're not eating. You're not eating. See, women carry a lot more body fat, yes, because they're gonna be the ones who bear children.
Mhm.
So you're telling me where women who lack the upper body strength, usually on average half what the average man has, she's going to still, after not eating, have the muscle mass and bone density that will break men off in half. Let's be logical there. And please tell me where your intelligence and your expertise, Lakia or Miss Perry, tell me where your expertise in this will be trumping mine. It doesn't. And the third part, investigations. It goes back into the spine. If I really want to get a guy for all kinds of crimes, I'm going to send a female there, because they're going to get that warm motherly appearance, and she's just writing down, oh, this dude is telling me about all kinds of bank robberies and murders that he committed 5 years ago. Oh, he's never going to see the light of day. Matter of fact, he's going to be the only nigga in heaven still in jail. But see, that's called a man who actually researches and knows what the hell he's talking about, and we use women in the most optimal way that we can get from them. Instead of putting women out in the front line where they're going to have a significant disadvantage, we're going to put them in places where they can maximize the minimal. Thank you.
I mean, some women are badass. I'm not that badass. I'm sorry, but I don't want to be in that position.
There has never been female Green Berets. You think in this feminist time we have, they're not going to post that woman as some type of hero?
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
See, the issue is how we get on this subject.
I appreciate.
Anita, stop talking about the military, because this is the shift in the conversation.
I didn't say nothing about the military. I said I appreciate a man's leadership in that aspect. Things that I can't do that men can do better, I'm all with that.
And then on top of that, every great female you see that is a leader, guess where she learned it from?
A man, because we live in a patriarchal society.
We haven't been patriarchal for over almost 200 years.
Wow.
But we'll get back on that one.
Learn from them.
That's just a hot topic catchphrase, the patriarchal stuff. Nobody really thinks about that stuff when you just going through your daily motions of life, whatever, and you know what feels right and you do right. It's just social media has destroyed relationships. destroyed relationships, destroyed human capacity, as far as I'm concerned, because everybody uses that as their source of knowledge. Not everyone, that's an absolute, but most people use that instead of just living life or living your own experiences on what you saw or what you believe. Not everything you saw is right, so you might adapt and make changes and like, well, I grew up like this, but I don't want to live like that. But when you see stuff on social media, everybody flocks to that. So again, as BGS say and Herbert say and Officer Charles say and other people say, we're screwed
Really,
in so many areas.
look at it, even in the military. Guess what? Just like them ladies who quote unquote pass Ranger school, are you operational? No, y'all don't even want to do the shit, the way the men do it. I want to go be a Ranger. I want to go serve. No, I just want to do it for a milestone. See, that's the difference. And I'm talking to this lady here. Let's look at it, right?
Which lady?
The one who's highlighted. There's something that comes with leadership in the Black community. See, the problem is that too many Black women do not look for Black men for leadership. They look for them for utility.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, really.
Yep.
They don't want our leadership. They just want us to be an ATM with a dick.
Damn.
Because really, if you really wanted leadership, okay. If you really wanted your boys to be leaders, because we're not even going to talk about the men you sleep with, date, marry, none of that. We're going to talk about the young men that you birth.
Yep.
Fundamentally, does the average woman in the Black community teaches her son to be somebody else's husband and father? The answer is no. Do you maximize them in school overall, since you got majority monopoly over the children? The answer is no. Think about it. I live in Baltimore. My ex used to tell me, well, why don't these young men get a job? I said, it's nice to get a job when somebody will hire you.
Yeah.
You want leaders? Leaders have to be groomed.
Mm-hmm.
Leaders have to be made. See,
You have to learn how to be a good follower in order to be a good leader.
Thank you. Say that again for the Negroes in the back who not listening.
You have to learn how to be a good follower to be a good leader.
So in other words, who were Black women following in our community? Matter of fact, let's not even put Black. Who are women following to be a good leader?
I don't know.
Because one thing about being a married woman...
Me personally, I just rely on my traditional family upbringing.
Because one thing you got to realize it, in a man's... Because I know women aren't used to listening to what men say and how we think. When a woman has business... Well, a lot of women aren't, believe it or not. When a woman has Mrs. in front of her name, that does something to the psyche of a man. She must be protected at all costs.
Mm-hmm.
Because we got to respect her because she's under a man's covenant. Even when guys in the barbershop talking about how beautiful, the first thing that dude's going to say, hey, man, that's somebody's wife.
Right.
See, that's good.
See, when we talk about leadership, we also have to talk about, are you a good number two? Remember that. A good number two. Are you a good second in command?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to make sure the family mission is being carried out when that man is not there? And see, Fat Joe talked about this so eloquently.
Who?
Fat Joe, the rapper. He says, you know why I'm not afraid of success and I'm not afraid of other people being successful? Because I know how to play number two. And see, back in the day, women weren't afraid to play number two. You know why? Because women aren't judged on the same scale as men. Women are judged by the fruit they bear and
Mhm.
And what?
cultivate.
Oh, okay.
And fundamentally, when feminism came and reared its ugly head, it robbed women of their ultimate superpower, which is their femininity. I've never seen a feminine female, ever beg for assistance from men. It was willingly given.
Can you say that again?
I've never seen a feminine woman, a lady, ever have to beg assistance from a man. It was willingly given.
Okay.
I've seen many of women who were very, very, very ladylike, never touched her tire when it was flat. I've seen many feminine women never even touch their gas to pump it. But when you get masculine women, I ain't helping her. She looked like she got it on her own. When you tell men you're independent, that means you my equal. You can defend yourself. And that's what happens in a lot of these relationships and marriages. Instead of trying to get somebody who's complimentary, you want to get somebody that's equal. Men don't like marrying equals. They like marrying somebody complimentary. I don't want somebody to be as muscular and strong as me. I want you to be the pretty one. I want you to be the one who understands emotion.
I guess that goes with the way that people carry themselves. And a lot of people base it on that. And like you said, Anita, based on things that you've seen in your experiences. So a lot of people deviate from what they've seen. And like I said, it doesn't make it right, everything you've seen. But I think a lot of people is caught up into social media and in that perspective. And even with the original of subject matter, the marriage thing. You see it like people film, go live and do all this shit for the whole ceremony. Why? 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 Why posting all that from step one to you getting your makeup put on and all that stuff? Why does everybody have to see that? Then you should have invited them to the. I don't get it. I don't get. It's always camera and footage showing on everything that happens, especially on something that should be sacred. It should be only for people that you embrace, that you wanted to be a part of that. But then you put it out on social media, sort of like, look at me. Back in the days, like when we used to have show and tell, like I'm showing and telling everything.
Be proud of that.
Huh?
Why can't somebody just do it because they're proud of it? I've seen them do that.
Bullshit, man. You can be proud of something, but you don't have to announce it to the world, especially with people who really don't care. That's that's where I don't agree with.
Okay. If
So you're proud of something,
and you don't care, you can just scroll by. But if I'm proud I'm getting married to a man, like,
so you put it on social media for everybody to see it, right?
I'll put it on my Facebook.
Okay.
See, what happened was, social media really negated. It really negated the importance and the sacred, organization and joining of two families. It really bastardized it.
Yeah.
It's like when social media came out, it took, because stuff like this affects men, but it affects women in a way as well. Sometimes in a little bit of a worse way. Because it let women be a little bit more delusional about their situation and where they are in life. Oh, I don't want to settle. Honey, you may not get a millionaire. Most people are not millionaires. You got to live in reality. And a lot of times you look on social media, people do not live in reality.
I can agree with that.
And what happens is men we could be delusional, but not as delusional as women because we know the world ain't gonna be as kind and nice to us, especially in the realm of mating and dating. If you ain't got a certain amount of money, certain amount of looks, you may not get, big and good. And we okay with that. But you have women out there when Kevin, God rest his soul, just asked a woman, where do you rank yourself? Nobody even paid attention. He didn't give the number. She did. And she said, I'm a 5. And he said, well, honey, 5 is average. What's wrong with an average man?
Nothing.
What social media has done, it has distorted a lot of people. It's distorted a lot of things when it comes to
Some
relationships.
people that don't have emotional intelligence, I guess so.
I'm an independent female who can handle her finances and maintain her lifestyle. I personally think they feel intimidated, and I would like to know why. This isn't saying I'm not seeking male companionship. One, you got to think, men are not intimidated by women. They really aren't. Men just don't want to deal with somebody who's going to have a chip on their shoulder. Because if you really want to talk about being independent, let's break down the word independent. That means stand alone. That means don't need anybody else or any other sovereign nation help. So why does a man want to be with somebody who does not need them? And this breaks down to what women in the modern day do not take the time. Why do they run that stop sign? Jesus Christ. What the women do not take the time to understand men.
Because they're fixated on that word need. And when people say, I don't want anyone, I don't want to have to need for anything, but it's not that complex to use that word, because even in jobs, even in sports and all that, you need people to do certain things.
Mm-hmm.
You need people to do certain things. And I think people get caught in that moment or that word, like, oh, that means that I can't do it, and I feel weak, whatever. That's where we're fucked up at, whatever. I can say I need such and such. I know some people are better than certain things, even as the leader of my department. There's a lot of things I can't do.
Yeah.
And I need them to do it. And there's certain things that they don't know, and they depend on me for knowledge and experience that I make their day easier. We got to stop getting caught up in the semantics of words, whatever. Like, I don't want to feel needy, so I can't subscribe to that. Man,
You should.
you should
You should need your man. Like, let's break down the definition of independent, right?
Well,
Free
hold on.
outside control.
Can I
Go
say
ahead.
something before we go to independence? So my ex-boyfriend, we broke up for numerous reasons, but anyhow, after that, I have health problems. I had a heart attack, and he was like, well, you need me to take care of you. I said, honey, I was fine before I met you. I didn't need you to take care of me. Right now, I'm self-sufficient. I don't need, I want to be with you. And that made him think, oh, you're self-sufficient. You don't need me. I never said I needed you to take care of me medically. Now, I will admit, I will never say I don't need a man in general for anything, because I like a man to help me out. I like a man to do the man stuff. And being in the military, maybe that's why I like the presence of a man that can command, an alpha male, maybe. I enjoy that. I welcome that.
Nope. I'm gonna say
when
that.
When some women say independent, I think they sometimes get that independent and self-sufficient. I don't know how guys perceive that.
I'll tell you.
You guys perceive that it's the same thing as being self-sufficient, independent?
Independent.
I'll never say Herb, don't come over here and help me. Dave, don't come over here and help me.
See,
Herb, I'm hungry for pizza. Can you help me?
see, there's a difference between being an adult and being independent. Yes, you should work. Nobody's going to take care of you after the age of 18. Hell, there's some people who had to work at 14. But let's break down the word independent. Free from outside control, not dependent on another's authority. What man wants to deal with a woman? He has no authority. I'll wait. Why would I want to deal with somebody when I told you before the first rule of protection is obedience? If the man has your best interest at heart and you go outside of what he's telling you, you're being disobedient. You know what that makes you? That makes you a liability. You're not a helpmate. You're not an asset. You're a liability. You're going to cause more trouble than it's worth. And see, yes, men love women who need them, just like women love men that can protect them.
AKA the damsel in distress.
We act clingy and needy. They're like, "Oh, you're too clingy. You're too needy."
Needy
oh my God.
Yeah, that's
Clingy.
totally different.
That's different. What?
Yeah.
What? In other words, what would you say to? What would you say to a? What would you say to a man?
What was that?
What would you say to a man who doesn't appreciate your cooking?
Cook for your damn self.
So what would you think a man would take it if a woman keeps preaching independence to him? Do it your goddamn self.
Bingo.
Yeah, that's why I will never say I don't need a man.
And do me a favor, y'all. This is the controversial counselor. Side note, please donate because I'm dropping jewels like a goddamn pirate. So when you actually, and I'm gonna tell you this week, because we designated every Friday for law enforcement and military talk, but this week I'm gonna explain the fatal flaw of women in relationships. They don't understand men. You never had to think about it.
Yeah.
Men always had to figure out women. We always know about y'all.
Mm-hmm.
But y'all never had to figure out about us in the last 50 years.
Yeah.
That's why there's such a disconnect. Think about it. There are little things a man wants from his woman. We never ask for anything major. We don't care about your degrees. Yeah, that's nice. How you going to treat me? That's nice. Are you going to be cooperative? See, when we talk about the word submission, willingly being cooperative, not begrudgingly, that means a lot to a man.
Yeah. That's exactly one of the reasons why Kevin Samuels' channel blew up, is because women found themselves in a position where they actually needed somebody to step in. This is why a lot of those women who will call in nightly, whether his show was on Instagram or YouTube, and they were asking questions about this situation, that situation, and why wouldn't they qualify for certain things? Because they didn't realize that men, especially the ones that they were targeting, had a standard. And the problem that a lot of women have is they don't think they have to meet any standard that a man has, is that take me as I am. When women say that, they're automatically telling a man that what you want doesn't matter, until they want to run into the wall of reality. And that man says, oh, is that what you think? Well, there's the door. This is why you have a lot of women that claim that they're independent and they're single. They're independent and single until the man that they want wants them. It just so happens that a lot of those men are just saying, you know what? I don't need what you're offering. You don't bring enough to the table. You don't bring enough to my table. I'm not going to sacrifice all the work that I'm doing, the protection, the provision that I'm giving for what you have. It's not worth it. I'll go somewhere else. And this is why a lot of women talk about men are intimidated. I have never known no functional man to be intimidated by a competent female adult. That's just an asinine statement in and of itself. And when I see statements like that, I already know that the female can't present what that man that she's chasing is willing to settle for.
Not true.
Exactly.
You don't have to believe it. It's out there. Look at the marriage statistics.
Exactly. And I'm gonna tell you, when you talking about men being intimidated by women, I really think it's the other way around. Because we got to look at things very carefully. Either women purposely pick bad men, or they can't pick men on their own. Which one is it? Because I doubt women are stupid. I doubt they have, no intellectual capabilities. So which is it? Because if I had to tell a woman when she tried to lowball me, I said, "You never been with a competent man." And think about this: if you have two children's fathers and neither one of them were competent men when you met them, what does that say about you? And a lot of times when we want, oh, we getting controversial tonight, folks. But can you put up her last comment before this one?
Which one is that? You talking about Marcia's?
Yeah. You got to look at it. Your finances mean nothing to a man. When a man hears a woman say independent woman who
Oh
can
shit.
handle herself, guess what that says to men? I don't want to deal with the headache. No man wants to be challenged 24/7, especially a black man who's got to deal with all kinds of unspoken shit on his job, because you got to be twice as better than the average to get it, and 3 times better to keep it, and 4 times better just to get accolades about it. So,
We've been talking about
That's how women feel in the military a lot of times.
we've been talking about interdependence for years. That's the shift. That's the word that needs to be spoken. Interdependence instead of independent, and people still haven't caught on to that word, and they still saying it, because interdependence is basically piggybacking my strengths. I might have strengths, maybe your weakness. Your strengths may be my weakness. We're gonna put that together, and we're gonna roll this thing out. Whatever.
Right.
Anybody keep talking about independent? Y'all behind. Y'all
Exactly.
behind times. Whatever. If you still talking that shit, so it need to be interdependence, because Michael Baisden said back years ago when all this conversations came about. He said, if I own my own home and you got what you got, shit, we sitting on the couch looking at like, what the hell we got to talk about?
Right.
What are we talking about? And basically, that is it. If you feel like you don't need me and I don't need you, what is the point of us
being together?
Being together.
And I'm going to say this. When you tell a man I'm an independent woman, you're basically telling that man I'm a man too.
I guess some men perceive it that way.
No, all men do.
Well, it's just like.
So
go ahead. I'm sorry.
There's a difference between when I say I'm independent or when I say I'm self-sufficient.
It's called being an adult. That's what it really is.
Yeah.
You should be an adult. Yes, a functional
because
adult.
I think a lot of women say independent and they mean self-sufficient, like I was explaining before.
Let me put it to you this way.
What man wants a woman that doesn't know how to handle her finances, though?
Here's the part about it, right?
I'm trying to understand.
When women say independent, they really saying it to spite men.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at it, right? Independent. I just read the definition. When you walk independent, you don't want to be under the authority and protection of a man. All right, let me try it. What about now?
Okay.
Can you hear me? All right. When a woman says she's independent, she's spiting men. She does not want to be under the authority, protection, provision, and problem solving and procreation of a man. She doesn't want that man. She doesn't want that man to have any authority. Guess what? You should know how to handle your finances. It's called basic economics and math. I don't want somebody like when I gave you the example of the woman who spent the $40,000 detriment to both he and you. And then all kinds of problems break into that. We want somebody who can actually be a functional adult. Because
Okay.
a functional adult to a man is like, look, I don't care about your finances. Are you supportive? Think about this. This is one of the biggest things, and I'm giving women game. If you want a good man, don't talk about what you can do with your finances, where you work. Tell him how you care. Tell him how you can support. If the man is going through school to be an engineer, are you going to grab up when he's at school? Are you going to drive and drop off lunch?
Mm-hmm.
He'll never forget you. If he's trying to get to work because he's working while he's going to school, are you going to give him gas money? Are you going to be an asset? In other words, are you going to build that man groom him into the position of taking care of you and the family? Are you going to be a helpmate to that? Are you going to be either at the starting line running with that brother, or are you going to be like most women wanting a finished product that you never invested in?
No, I want to grow with somebody, actually.
You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah. Like when my ex-boyfriend was in Iraq and I just got out of the army, he gave me access to everything. Like his ATM card, he paid all the bills. I took care of his new truck. I had access to $5,000 every month. I didn't spend any of it unless he told me, "Hey, go to the salon, go treat yourself, go get you a new pair of shoes, get your nails done," all that. Now, a lot of experiences that I hear aren't the same as that, even if you're not in the military.
Exactly. That means you were trustworthy.
Right.
So I'm gonna look at her next comment. Yes, submission, obedience. Do you obey the law when you have a speeding? Let's say you have a speed limit there. Do you obey the law? Are you obedient to the law? So why can't you be obedient to your husband? Especially if he's a good, competent, trustworthy, hell of a man. But then again, we also have to figure out why a lot of women don't have men. It's not usually the man.
Get too deep tonight. Officer, getting too deep.
I mean, let's talk about dominant and submission. No, let's not. You know how last Monday went.
Yeah, dominant submission. Usually those conversations turn out to be, whips, chains, and leather. But anyway, that's another.
You know how last Monday went, and I'm bringing some Mai Tais.
Hey, we gotta look at this obedience thing. When you're married to a person, you have to be obedient to both God and the state. Okay? Those vows you take are vows that you have to adhere. You have to be obedient to that. See, the problem with this independent thing, y'all don't want to be obedient to anybody. This is the reason why you have a lot of unprotected women.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't respect obedience and submission. Even your holy Bible said, husbands love your wives. Wives, respect your husbands.
Another thing to that statement, some people don't realize because
I'm about to get X-rated, but I'm gonna pause for a minute.
The most protected people on this planet yield that authority to their security details. Doesn't matter if it's the former Queen of England, the King of England, the President of the United States, the CEOs. They do what they're told by their security team. Why? Because ultimately their well-being is in the hands of someone else. This is what's meant by submission. You give of yourself to something that's a more noble cause. And a lot of women, especially modern women, as Kevin used to say, they don't want to yield that leadership. And at a certain point in time, when you don't yield that leadership, whether you're male or female, you have to pay a price. That price is the protection. and
Mhm.
sometimes it comes with your life.
Let's look at this. Let's look at this statement. Obedient to a husband. He's not my father. You probably don't even listen to your father, so shut up. As an adult, I'm not looking for a replacement for my father. See, this is the reason why you're not married. Who gives you off when you're married? Your father. Because you become another man, your husband's responsibility. See, I'm going to say this. Shut
Oh,
the hell up,
Jesus
modern women.
Christ.
Because I'm going to bring out the t-shirts coming out soon called You're Too Dumb to Be Stupid. Because a lot of that statement right there was too damn stupid to be even dumb. Like, you are under your father's covenant until you're married. But you would know this if you were a traditional woman. You goddamn Jezebel. But anyway,
Man, we so far off in this shit. And it's exposed every week, every podcast. Uh, I don't know.
I mean, honestly, there's a chasm. There's a deep chasm between the way women think and the way men think, and until this chasm is actually bridged in some way, there's going to continue to always be a gap in between the genders and them coming together. It's like Obsidian says, this is the conversation that's happening, especially when it comes to black people.
mm-hmm. This is one of the biggest. And guess what, Kev? I want you to come to my channel when I do this, because from your expertise of being a counselor, you're gonna love this shit, and Herb too, you know. And it's funny, but I'm reading Makar's statement. That's not true, but there should be a level of compromise as well. I'm a very compassionate person, so don't judge me because the picture you were visualizing and the statement you made isn't correct. Okay, one, you're supposed to make a capital I of isn't, but because you did put a period there, so I'm just saying I'm gonna scale back because I'm gonna scale back because it probably was a typo. Number one, do you want to compromise the man? Because men, let me break. Can I break this down for a minute, Kev? I'm gonna break this shit down. Men, when they have authority, usually do not abuse that authority.
Right.
Men, when they have authority, they're looking for the best options for the community, the family, the women, and the children. They don't think the same level. They just don't. So you don't want to compromise man, because that man, unlike you, has to prove that he can take care of you and any future children you create. He has to be a man of character, principle, and substance. So you don't want this is the problem. Y'all talk about men being compromising, and then when you get that compromised man, you don't like him. It makes your vagina dry.
Is it time for Counselor's Corner After Dark? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, we'll be ready for that.
Well, get the dollar bills out.
Yeah.
You always got to add some humor.
Yeah.
Leave it to me to add some humor.
Can you blame women that have watched or suffered betrayal that are wrong? Oh shit! Will women suffer betrayal? I said.
What I want to move on to is segment 2, and that adds a lot to the whole conversation too, because it seems like we're going back and forth and shit. We stuck in quicksand with this subject and just these words, obedience and all that stuff, like it's traumatizing us that we can't get past any of that. I don't give a damn about that. I want effectiveness. If it's working, I'm gonna say, if in certain situations I'm gonna be submissive to a woman. If she has the ingredients for us to, for this particular task for us to be successful, then I'm gonna be submissive toward it. Like shit, you running a show right now. This is your expertise, and
That's right.
that don't make me less than a man. But it's gonna be situations, and I'm not going to be considered a simp or whatever the case is, but it's going to be certain situations that I'm going to call the shots or whatever. But sometimes when it comes to executive decision, you may have to lean on who has and I don't want to get into the equation who has the most emotional intelligence, because I think that's situational in certain situations. But for us to be having a tug of war over words, shit, we screwed as far as that.
It's comical because your grandmother or your great grandmother were submissive women, and they lived a happier life than most women nowadays in modern world. There are women who are married to pig farmers in third world countries who are happier than women in the modern world.
But
And it's funny because submission has benefited women since human beings have been on this planet. What's wrong now?
But one of the things that they always talk about when they look at grandmothers and all that, they say, "Oh, well, granddad or dad had families over here, families over there, and they were too submissive." So that's their ongoing argument as far as that.
But they won't talk about how grandma had red haired children that look like nobody else in the family. They won't talk about how the mailman looks awfully like your Uncle Jimmy. But they won't talk about that. So guess what? Human beings are gonna do stupid shit that human beings do. So a lot of those people will tell you, look, men die before women. So a lot of women, are you gonna honor that man when he passes and you got the house? Where's his big picture over the fireplace? Where's his Memorial Day dinner or cookout? See, we're supposed to shut up, bring home money, and have no say. That's the ultimate for a lot of modern women. And instead of actually working like a unit, because guess what? Any person who's been in the military knows the unit is a family, but there's only one commander of that motherfucker.
Right.
And when you actually say, hey, you're the second in command, this is the role you got to play. Because I've heard it all the time from women. Well, I'll be submissive if you pay all the bills, which we know is a goddamn lie. Why not you work and I work, which takes the stress from both of us, and combine our forces? That is the smartest, simplistic plan to have. But because people want to conflate and don't understand how the world truly works, most people are going to need two incomes to just make it. But the more and more we look at these words and not up here and understand the meaning, guess what? That man is supposed to love and protect you. The ultimate love for a man is to give up his life for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the problem. Caught up in these words, but people never gave a damn about words when they were in school, and the meaning of words. So now all of a sudden, as adults, you want to focus on words, but you didn't give a damn about when you were supposed to spell those words, write them out, or whatever the case is, and you want to put so much emphasis on them. And I don't know, man. I just like having these conversations because I think it exposes our different thought processes and the dysfunctions that we have.
And I do agree because, one, how can you grow if you don't know what the problem is?
Yeah.
It lulls you in a false sense of security and you become complacent. And I'm sorry, I've been in the police department with very physically attractive women, and I had to ask them, why aren't you married? Well, I like being my own. No, 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 no. I want you to listen to my statement. Why? Is it the fact that you can't find a man who's suitable to be married? Or is it that you refuse to be married? Why? And when you sit down with women and just ask certain questions, see, 9 out of 10, I'm going to get more of a direct answer from men, even the men trying to hide stuff. We're going to be a bit more direct. See, in today's world, a lot of women are not faced to look at the reflection. And that's the ultimate goal for any functional adult. Look in the mirror. There are times I got to look in the mirror and say, you know what? You fucked up.
Yeah.
Only you were to blame.
That's right.
As my sergeant said, the first thing you need to do for people to respect you is to admit that you fucked up, because once you admit that you have issues and problems like we all do, there's going to be abundance of people who's going to help you unfuck that situation.
Mhm.
But the minute you try to be an arrogant prick saying nothing wrong with you, people will turn their back on you so fast
Mm-hmm.
because you have no humility. Even the Bible says you're supposed to come to the throne in humiliation. And when you cannot say, okay, this man is a good man, even my ex, when she invited me for drinks, and this one female was talking, and she was like, you ever give him money? He was like, no, he's a gentleman. I'll admit, I was the one being a bitch. He told me about myself like he just told you, but I was being a bitch. And I didn't realize it till we broke up how good of a man he was to me.
Yeah, and there's a whole lot of that going on.
And even her uncles, her mother, and her father, who just retired in the military, said that. And she said, you know what? I lost you once. Even if we don't get back together, I will never lose you again.
And that's something I said. I've said before. I said if a woman, doesn't matter what her marital situation is, I've often said if a woman doesn't have at least one good male friend, then there's something wrong with her. And that doesn't mean physically and mentally. That doesn't mean she's incapable of maintaining a relationship with an individual who's actually not seeking something from her that she can call on in a moment and have him do something for her.
Yeah. Because I'm going to tell you, the saddest thing you'll ever see is a woman unprotected. See, I'm going to go a little black pill. Because people think, oh, you hate women. No. You weren't with me when a guy was trying to choke a woman in a basement, and I had to front kick him in his face to get him off of her. Where was the man to protect her? You know, thank God that I made it in time, because that was me. But see, the reason why you want to make the comment of asking strangers, my coworkers weren't strangers. They were my second family, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Especially being a cop and a soldier, you can't have strangers. You have to know this person. And when we broke down in this conversation, a lot of stuff was opened. And she's actually hugged me and thanked me because she didn't realize what she was doing in her past relationships till somebody asked her. When you have a conversation, it opens up things. It opens up parts of your brain you never explored. That's why, people like, the controversial counselor, gotta put the cheap plug in again. That's why we have conversations over here to open up and look at different ways. You may not like the way I put it, but guess what? One day you're going to have it and say, man, I can't stand that motherfucker, but boy, did he
Did he put it down?
Boy, he made sense.
Yeah. And that's the whole thing. Like with people who've been on the panel who disappeared and all that stuff. When you don't like the way something said, but a wise person listens to everybody.
Yeah.
And understands what they're saying and say, you could get something from everybody.
Yeah.
People who's not willing and they want to rah and cheerlead on everything that they agree upon. They don't have no growth.
You see,
They
that's
don't
why
want
I
to
keep coming
understand.
back for more, right?
You keep coming back. You, I give it to you. You keep I give it to you. You keep coming back. Even when the chips are stacked against you, you still come back, and I got much love and respect for you for that.
Thank you. Because I want to understand cultural diversity is very important.
Hey, at least that shows that you're willing to listen and learn. And the craziness about women, and I've had many of women, and Herb was there, Kev was there, and I'm like, yo, when I have conversations with women one on one on my panel, most of the times when I have conversations with women are one on one. So they can't say, oh, they're ganging up on me, nothing. I'm going to ask them questions that they probably were never asked before in their life. Because one, I know women very well. I had to. Women find me very charming when we meet, especially face to face. Hell, even over the internet. They like, you're very charming. You're so easy to be around. I know.
Is that part of your game?
Oh, it's not game, it's reality. You know,
Mm.
I got the game of reality. You know, the storyline sometimes sucks, but the graphics are exotically great. But anyway,
Okay, is it Council's Corner After Dark now?
well, I am dark, so I guess so. But anyway,
I mean, it don't bother me none. We got two other dark brothers on here.
wow, I think movies like this, but never mind.
What? I didn't hear that.
I said I see movies like this, but never mind.
I still didn't hear it because Herb is just laughing. What?
It's like that. I said I see movies like this, but never mind. Oh my God! Oh, you never know. Jesus Christ. You know what?
Are we having the After Dark now?
You dying for that segment? Is that gonna be your closing comment?
I just had like one comment, like, couple comments talking about dominant and submissive.
Okay, Anita. Okay. All right.
I mean, real at least.
The code word is fine.
Follow me. I'm the only woman on the panel. I'm the only non-African American on the panel. At least I keep it real.
Nobody came through and pulled up for you tonight. Whatever.
I know, right?
The code word is
even when they do pull up, I'm the only non-African American woman on here. So
that's a challenge.
Yeah.
Anita shouldn't be the only non-African American woman that comes on the panel. Pull up. We don't
but I
bite.
got courage.
We don't bite. We talk shit, whatever.
Just
We
nibble
put
a
stuff
little
out
bit.
there. Yeah.
That's all. Just nibble.
Hey,
Just nibble.
Yeah.
Just a nibble.
I'm good with that.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh man. Y'all should have never invited me on this shit. I know I love it when you invite me here, like, oh, we gonna get some shit today.
Well, they got some shit last week, that's for sure.
Yeah, last week was definitely, oh boy, man.
I'm gonna tell you, because people don't understand when I talk about this marriage thing. I tell people, look, I respect the institution of marriage, at least the way it was supposed to be. A marriage is not a glorified prom, okay? That's some serious shit when you say, yeah, because I'm the person who will tell you frequently, women pick fathers, men pick wives. If a man picks a bad wife, that's on him. That's on him.
Yeah.
And it's strictly on, and that's something that a man has to take. That's your part. You pick. We're the gatekeepers of relationships. Y'all the gatekeepers of sex. And when men, even my best friend, when he complained about his wife, nigga, I sat him down with a glass of cognac and gave him a cigar. I said, nigga, I'm gonna let you vent for 25 minutes. I'm gonna start the timer. Smoke my cigar. And I said, ding, okay, my turn. Nigga, did you vet this woman before y'all were married? You said you complain about she doesn't clean up. Yeah. I said, do you get at least 80% of what you want out of your wife? He was like, yeah, congratulations, nigga. Most niggas can't get 40.
Yeah.
I said, so look, have a Coke and a smile. Matter of fact, put a little cognac in it and shut the fuck up. You didn't vet this woman the way you thought that she was going to be. If she was like this before you met her, you think she's miraculously going to be this way? You picked her. I can't blame her. It's you. Now, if she got pregnant, if she was a girl,
You're breaking up again.
if a woman's out there gets pregnant, especially when you got 33 different ways of contraceptive, and abortion is still legal in most states, at least.
33 flavors of contraceptives.
33
Flavor?
different. That's flavors, meaning you have different variations of contraceptives.
Oh.
It's colloquialism, slang. So
I would just be a fan.
I know. So if you got that, and then we can't force you legally to have an abortion or to keep the child, it's on you for that decision. And when you actually understand roles, because guess what? Everybody talks about gender roles, but I never heard somebody say, I don't want a man that doesn't work. I'll take all the bills. Bullshit. So
it depends on what else he's doing with his time.
Because like I tell women right now, I'm going to retire before you. Like if I got married today at the age of 40, I'm going to be retired 20 years probably before my wife. Because of the professions I've been in. So if I'm running my business or golfing or fishing or coaching a wrestling team, you're going to have to respect that. Well, I'm out here working. Well, you worked a job where you retire when you're 60. I didn't. I'm not shitting on you because of it. I'm just letting you know. You have to understand what you're getting into before you get into it.
They ain't gonna check for that. They ain't checking for that one.
Oh, they don't want that because here's the problem. I ain't shit till I have a VA loan to buy a fucking house for you. Oh, this nigga, he's just judgmental. I ain't shit that I got guaranteed money to the rest of my life and you'll probably get it after.
Amen.
I ain't shit if I can solve every problem that you have. I ain't shit if I could keep every motherfucker off your ass because of the fucking fear, respect, and violence I can invoke to keep you safe. But yet, I hate women. I'm being vile. No, I'm just keeping it funky. I do my manly parts. Let's see them do their feminine.
I enjoy my veteran benefits.
Well, man, it's clear I ain't even trying to touch the other two talking points. I should
go ahead, man. Just go ahead and touch them. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I should have known that this
Go ahead
subject
and
alone.
just touch it.
Well, we could touch it, but we ain't gonna touch it too long. The second talking point was: do black parents push their kids out the house too early? Are we the only ones who do that? Meaning that other ethnic groups, they could be grown and they still could stay in the household, but as blacks, we may push, or you 18, you grown, and we put them out, I guess, for the streets or whatever, when really probably we should. And there's certain variables of things that make a parent say, oh, your ass got to go. You got to go. You can't be in here, or whatever the case is. But the overall question is, do we target that age of 18 that they have to go? And they think about 18-year-old, what the hell, where the hell they going? Where the hell they really going?
Let's look at this, right?
College or the army?
I think black boys, for one, at 18, even though 17 and the junior, you can join the reserves or National Guard. One, I think it's prime age for you to join the military because I hate to sound sexist. I think men should be worldly. think men should know how to be capable at a very early age. And unfortunately, because a lot of our kids grow up in single mother houses, they don't get that challenge in a manly space. They don't know how to compete against other races of men. I don't think we should. I think that the child should, that kid who becomes 18, I think they should be able to come back to their service, or if they're in the reserves, let them stay home and go to college. I think that we push our kids out because it goes back to what I talked about that selfish nature. We don't want to groom our kids. We just want to basically maintain them.
Yeah, and I used to always look at it, and when I used to work at the high school level, I used to tell them, when I used to be pushing education, but I evolved over the years and my thought process had changed. I said going to college is an extension of still with no concerns or worries. If you're doing what you need to do and you're going to a 4-year school, your parents, for most cases, and your family gonna have your back. When you relinquish that and say, "Oh, I don't want to do that. I want to do that," then you have to tread water on your own. When you say, "Oh, I don't want to do that," but it's crazy how thought process have changed. I used to be all about pro college, but now, not so much.
It's funny that you say that, because everybody wants their child to go to college, but not one motherfucker ever says how we gonna pay for it.
Mm.
And because I refuse to help you or put you in a position where you're gonna get a PhD in grasshopper reproduction. No. One, why do we push our children out so quickly and we don't prepare them for life, period? But then we get mad because I think it's too much of looking for freedom. And I'm not trying to pick on the women, because I don't really hear men kicking their boys out until they're ready. Like, okay, the least you could do, we're going to put you in the basement or put you in the garage or somewhere separate from the house to get you prepared. We put you in increments. See, I've heard a lot of times with black mothers, I need to go out the house so I can get my freedom on. Well, you don't want to cultivate your children. And I'm not saying that's all black mothers, but a lot of times, if you're gonna want your child to be moving out by 18, you should have trained them while they were 4 or 8 to be a functional adult. The training should have started early. Think about this, right? How much experience in the world did you have at 18?
Shit.
Nah, I joined the Army. I grew up into adulthood in the Army until I was 30 something.
Mm-hmm.
So the Army values and leadership is all I know. Plus
They didn't give a
education.
fuck. And for the most part, they didn't give a fuck you a woman, did they?
Nope. I can't. You're breaking up again.
Goddamn area. Here we go. I said the one
Get
thing
in a
I
better
appreciate
area.
about, I know, I'm about to go in the house, but I'm in the car chilling and smoking. But
Well, that's not our fault.
it is today. Sorry. But nah, it's the fact of the matter that when you join the military, male or female, for the most part, yes, they're going to have some people who are bullshitters and take it easy on the women. When I say, look, if they join, you treat them the goddamn same.
Mm-hmm.
It shows you to be an adult. It forces you to be great. Because if you're not great, you're going to wash out anyway. So it's going to force you to either rise, or it's going to show you the fall that you need. And
that's right. And you can't be successful without a few failures.
Yeah. you got to be able to take some shit on the chin. And this is the problem with modern kids now. We push them out the house. What did we give the world? A bunch of sensitive children. People who can't laugh at themselves. People who need safe spaces and shit. You got 50 Cent's son, Marcus Jackson, or Marquise Jackson, whatever the fuck his name is, acting
Who,
like a
50
little
Cent?
bitch. No, his son.
Oh,
Acting
I was
like a
like,
little
50
B.
Cent is fine.
His son act like a little bitch, and talking about, can you in New York? Can you live off of 6,700 a month, nigga? Everybody living good off of 6,700 a month. There are some
Yeah,
people.
I thought that mess was a travesty. I heard that rant, and I'm thinking this little entitled, spoiled kid doesn't have a clue on the reality that most people actually have to live.
Yeah, most children in America, not just black, most children are below the poverty line. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
let's be fucking serious about this. You got 6,700 a month. Most adults will never see that type of money.
Really?
Yeah,
700 a month. That puts him at near. Think this is tax free. That's putting him at nearly $100,000 a year tax free income.
not including anything else he makes.
That's $80,400 a year.
He's
Nearly,
if you're
that puts him at. Let's look at it like this: if that was a working class adult, that would put him in the upper 20% of income earners in America.
yeah,
In
85,000
America.
85,000 to put you in the top 15% of earners.
This is a kid getting that tax free. And he had the audacity
okay.
to open his mouth and speak that way about his father.
Tracking.
Let me shut up.
And now cases like that, yeah, you throw him out on his ass. He's 25, throw him out on his ass. Let him see what the real burden of the world was.
He needs to learn something.
Because when you I had a conversation with my 15-year-old son. And his mother was on the phone with me. And we both agreed, you gotta grow up more. I'm gonna be tired. I've noticed this. You taking your little sweet ass time when I tell you something. When I tell you something, get off your ass and do it.
Yep.
You don't
Who
know
said
that.
that? You or his mom?
I said that, and
Oh.
she agreed. She said, "Yeah, you need to grow up." Like he was with her for the weekend. Like, why didn't you tell me about your haircut? She was like, blah blah blah. I said, but yet you wanted a charger for your phone and your computer. But I need a haircut. Why didn't you tell me that when you were out here when we were near the barber? Like, and she even said, you know, your dad be busy during the day. Why do you say something to either of us? Even though we're not together, we're still on an accord. And see, you got to understand this. You're either training your child to be a gift to the world or a goddamn curse.
Damn right.
A what? Oh, a curse?
Either a gift to the world or a curse. And when I look at Marquise Jackson, he sounds effeminate. He sounds like a woman who's looking for a man. I'm looking for, you know, those women who used to call the Kevin Samuels. I'm looking for a 6-figure man. You're a dude. Oh, I can't live off of the 6,700. Think about how disrespectful that is to your father who had to earn that money by hook or by crook.
Who's Marquise Jackson? Is that 50 Cent's son?
Yeah, Marquise, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Like think about that. You got kids who are not by a celebrity, who are entitled. They were like, I'm used to the finer shit in life.
They better go work for that finer shit in life.
Like finer shit in life. Last time I checked, you think you're French. Where you from? From late projects? Like, get the fuck out of here. Like but it goes back into the reality. And guess what? You think adults, when it comes to relationships, are victims of social media? The children are inoculated in that shit.
That's why it should still take a village to raise children.
You know,
Yes, but when the village has been destroyed.
Yeah, the village no longer exists.
Village has been destroyed, and what a lot of people
Yeah,
don't
some
understand.
families it has. I just wrote a paper about that.
Say that again, Anita.
I said in a lot of families it has. I just
No,
wrote a paper
no.
about
The village was never about a family. The village was about the community that offered the support where the family couldn't. That support structure has been destroyed. It's like I said when I ran for school board. A child needs three things in order to be successful: a stable home, a good community, and a good school district. With either one of those failing, that child is at risk of failing. Doesn't matter what ethnicity they come from, what economic strata they are, or who they are. They need those three things to be successful. Take away any one of those, and their chances of success drops.
mm-hmm.
I think they also need a village to raise children.
See what happens.
I mean, in for example, in my family, me, my sister, and my mom, we all contribute different things to my niece and nephew.
Mm-hmm.
And all those three things come together in some sort of way to develop them. Like I believe in structure, routine, and discipline, and fostering, I said this before, fostering an environment of learning. My mom, she believes in social activity, so bringing my nephew to age appropriate events so he can learn how to be social with people his age. My sister tries to teach her children the importance of autonomy and decision making. So I think that's also important too. It's not just about community, it's about the family too.
And see
Yeah.
here.
Now, just imagine if either one of those concepts that child didn't learn. What do you think that child's going to turn out to be?
I mean, it depends on when that child, how that child reflects mentally. When I was 17, I was going to Niagara University, and I was like, I'm not going to succeed because I'm too busy partying with my college friends and my city friends.
But
I was
but
like,
that's
I need to do something bigger and better with my life.
but that's the point that we're trying to get at, is that you take away one of those variables that you, the mother of the child, and the other individual are instilling in that child. That child has a risk failure that increases. Everybody let's look at it like this. Everybody that's born in this world comes with risk.
Mhm.
This is what Charles was mentioning earlier about the not following the leadership. If you don't follow that leadership, then the path to success has been degraded. So if that path to success is degraded, then it's going to continually increase with everything that you take away from that individual that is going to lead that individual down the path of leadership. And it gets to a point where they call catastrophic failure that you can't avoid it. That's what the community was designed to prevent.
And I'm gonna tell you a reason why I'm hard on women about certain things than men. And there's certain things I'm harder on men than I am on women. It comes to the womb. If me, Herb, go rob a bank, guess who's gonna be affected? Me and Herb, maybe our children, maybe not. But if a woman steps out of that obedience and protection, does whatever she wants, she can mess up the next 3 generations.
Yes, absolutely.
And see, when you put things in a very blunt statement towards women and men and notice the responsibilities they got to carry, what good is the community without its protectors? How long is it going to last? What good is this community without its nurturers? If you don't have people with assigned roles where they can maximize, where they'll benefit the whole community, what's the point of having a community if you're not communal in the first place? If you're putting children out at 18 that you never taught to be an adult, you're doing them a disservice.
Mm-hmm. That's
You're
right.
you're making somebody who's going to end up being a drag of society, because that 18-year-old who has no real life skills is going to do two or three things. They're going to knock over a couple of liquor stores, they're going to sell drugs, or they're going to come back and rob you. I just said this the other day. A child who is not cultivated by the village will burn it down just to feel its warmth.
Okay. I hear you.
Because a lot of times we especially in the black community, we look at the old ways like beating a child. Do I believe in corporal punishment? Yes, to an extent. But just beating your child and not actually, there has to be levels of discipline.
Well, Greg, he said, what are the reasons for forcing a child out of the home in the black community?
If
And
I
we kind of touched on some of the things, and we talked about people saying, oh, they want to be independent. This is their time to do their own thing and all that stuff. And really, they want to have that independence. But when you think about it, is when you trying to school a kid the right way, and if they're working, going to school, they're adding to the household. They're and you teach them responsibility. So instead of them paying this amount of rent somewhere, they could be giving you a little short that's going towards something. And really, I don't know how. Really, you probably wouldn't even bump heads that often.
mm-mm.
Everybody probably has their own space in the house. You might run into each other at the refrigerator here and there, but for the most part, uh, most people, you work different shifts, you have a different time schedule and stuff like that. And in this day and age, especially what we got going on now, it's time to bring everything together
Yeah.
so nobody has to do that much. And you see other races doing it. And not to point them out, but yeah, I see a lot of people in my community. Mexicans, they be 6, 7 deep, 8, got 4, 5 cars on the street, whatever, and they got other utility vehicles going on, sprinters, and they got businesses, and they doing it.
Let me give you a good example, man. I had a partner who was Asian, Chinese to be exact. Him and his wife were arranged. Okay, that you didn't leave that house thinking you're gonna be somebody else. No, he's from the old country. His parents are from the old country. You arranged marriage. No, you learn to love each other, but you have a duty to the community. And see, it goes back full circle about duty. Marriage is a duty. A child has a duty to the community. You're supposed to be better than the last goddamn generation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we want to look for these so-called
Honey, are you still in your car smoking? Because you're breaking up again.
little bit, but now you can hear me. What's up, Electric 480? He said you got the big fella. I'm just gonna put it to you this way: it's a sense of duty that we neglect in the community. Everybody wants to feel good. The first thing you tell a child when you're raising them, there's shit you're gonna have to do that you detest, but it has to be done, and it has to be done efficiently, effectively, and sometimes you might have to do shit a little bit ruthlessly.
And do it over until it gets done right.
Exactly. And the one thing I appreciate about the military, you fuck up on something, you're going to have ample time to do it again.
All day action.
And people don't understand. What brings down a community is one word. It either brings it up, or if you don't have it, it tears it apart. It's called discipline. You got to
I thought
be
you were going to say
disciplined.
cohesion.
Well,
Well,
you can be
discipline, yeah.
well. It's discipline
I get
before
that.
even cohesion, because guess what? When you discipline, the cohesion is going to come automatically
Mm-hmm.
because you know there's a role. The role has to be played. The center should not be playing the point guard's position. Why the fuck does the lineman have the ball and he's trying to be the quarterback? Like, no, you got to play your position to the best of your ability, and people don't like that because guess what? When
Not
you
everybody can play that position.
nope, they cannot. And see, ultimately, when it comes to kids, you only got one time to usually get it right. Think about it. I got a buddy of mine. He works for the federal government. He got custody of his son, but guess what? Before he had custody of his son, he's married now, but to a woman. But the lady he had his son with was from a previous generation. Instead of saying this boy needs his father, he needs this discipline, guess what? His son in jail for aggravated assault and robbery.
Mm.
And he said, you know what? Every time I put money, effort, love, kindness, even fist to your ass to keep you out of jail, you were hell bent of going. So now you got to go. You
Yeah.
got to serve your penance.
Mm-hmm.
When I tried to tell you and lead you to a better life, why do you want to go back to the street life? How many 60, 70-year-old retired in a nice part of Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, gangsters do you see?
I can't answer that.
Zero.
Exactly. I'm just confused when kids be like, especially, god damn it, especially kids from the county. I don't get this shit. Why do you, what we have a shame in our community of actually being intelligent and living a good life. Like, nigga, fuck you. You got both your parents in the house. They love you. God damn. Everybody wants to live a struggle life. I even heard a video somebody sent me. Well, wives can be single mothers too. Huh? Why do y'all want
Yeah.
why do you want to equate your life with struggle? Like, how the hell you a single mother if you're married? Well, if the man is not helping with the kids. I said, what is that man doing? Well, he's at work.
Why working?
So if the man's at work and he comes home and majority of the time, depending on his job, he sleep. Even when I lived with my ex-girlfriend, she didn't even understand till she stayed with me before she got her place how fucking physically tiring being a police officer in Baltimore was. She's like, I didn't even know you were that tired. Like, I just looked at you. You look like you just. She said, God damn, it looked like you fought the forces of evil. I said, you don't even know the fucking half of it. And she was like, you got up, you did your little 30-minute workout, went to take a shower, went right back to sleep. And I just had the food right here. She was like, God, I didn't know. And then one time, she didn't even notice I was at work for 20 hours on a case.
She didn't notice.
Because she was asleep. She thought I was there.
Oh.
And she heard the door open. She's like, when the fuck did you get back here? I never came here. This is the first time. And she was like, God damn, they make you work like, yep. That's why when all them detractors said, I don't know about experience, motherfucker, you don't know. When you got to work that goddamn case, you got a robbery case and a drug case wrapped up into one. And I don't know if it's fortunately or unfortunately, you caught them motherfuckers. And you're like, fuck. I got to write this statement of charges, write the statement of probable cause, then write the report, then wait for the state's attorney, the assistant state's attorney. I was like, you gotta respect men who are putting in work, like electrician right here. We talked offline. There's times he's gotta wire whole houses back again. God, do you know how tedious that shit is?
Especially for them, man. You get something wrong with electricity, you can burn an entire house down without it.
An entire block.
Yeah.
And it's funny because this is the part where I tell a lot of ladies, people think I heat ladies and all this other shit. No, I'm schooling ladies. Respect that man. And guess what? If that man isn't the leader, last time I checked, when men were in the head of the household, you had a community, you had a village, you had the protection, you had the provision. Like, don't overlook a lot of dudes doing a job. Just like we don't overlook good women. You know, ladies who are feminine, ladies who are helpmates, ladies who are competent, ladies who are intellectually sound. But what would happen is everybody wants to be thugs and boss bitches. You can't, no community you can build off of neither one of that shit.
Can't tell them that. Man. A lot of information was dropped this evening.
That's today's young society.
I just think with young people, you have to start developing that plan early, and there's no, as parents, you know your child, and you know what they're capable of.
Mm-hmm.
So putting them out there is probably going to create a headache for yourself down the road, because they're going to keep coming back. It's going to be something that you're going to have to bail them out. And essentially, it'd probably end up being a financial hardship for you if you constantly doing things. Especially, we don't mean to pick on mothers, but you're the ones that, oh, that's my baby, I got to do this, I got to do that, and always going in your, as my grandmother would say, pocketbook, dropping money, where the father would say, shit, I said this and I told him or her to do that, they went against me, shit, I'm falling back. Mothers is always going to be sneaking something.
That's my son, my father. My father did that with my older sister. She'll be 50 this year. He was like, look, you know that man ain't good, man. While you married to him, he's nothing but trouble. He didn't talk to her for 2 years. Not one fuck was given. His fuck dispensary was not working. It wasn't given, or not enough fucks were made. I don't know. The distribution of fucks was really out of whack. And that's the reason why you need that balance of men and women in a house to optimize a child's growth. Because one, that mother might be nurturing, but that man is going to sit his wife down and be like, look, he's no longer your child, he's your son. People are going to be like, oh, it's a father, that don't make sense. Yes, it does. Perfect sense. He's a man, or he's being raised to be a man. After 8 years old, he's not your child, he's your son. If we were in the ancient times, that motherfucker be ready for war. That motherfucker be ready for war. Matter of fact, he got about 4, maybe 5 more years before he's ready for fucking marriage. In some cultures back in the day. But now we want to talk about a 25-year-old who gets almost $7,000 a month can't make it in the world. What kind of ridiculous shit is this? You had motherfuckers back in World War II lying about their age to get in the war and fight.
Yeah. Yep.
And you got motherfuckers 25, almost $7,000, can't take on real responsibility. You know what? I'm gonna get the fuck off of here before I burn up this money.
Too much coddling. I don't believe in that. You got to execute.
You know what? Last commercial. Man, y'all better support and donate to the controversial counselor, put your goddamn Cash App up. Put
We
your
ain't even get that point yet. We trying to build on that, Officer Charles, to get to that point
get
to
your
donate.
Cash App up, man. Get the Cash App up, man. Y'all better donate. We been dropping some hot. I mean, shit was so hot it's volcanic. Okay. You know, the shit we've been talking about tonight was so hot. The sun even saying, "God damn."
It is, but people don't understand it. There's a lot of people don't, you know, they don't want to hear this, and then they want to vent on social media about certain situations, and we try to talk about all this shit.
Exactly.
And then you don't know what you don't know. That's why I'm here.
And I'm gonna say this before I get off. I know I had a lot of haters today in the chat, but I'm gonna tell you the same thing. Like every girl I've told, you hate me until you need me. Woo! And you still love me the same.
All right, those was Officer Charles closing comments.
Wow.
You're gonna love me, you're gonna hate me, but you better learn to respect me. Woo!
Okay.
Hey,
I can rock with that.
appreciate you, brother. Appreciate he gone, but we appreciate you, and it's a lot. And I know we digged into different areas and all this stuff, but it's real conversation that we have to think about. Even with this last subject matter, you can say, "Oh, as soon as you turn 18, you're gonna get out." Where they going?
Yeah,
Where the fuck they going when their minds is not developed until they're
until, like,
25?
25.
Where are they going?
We're on the same page, Dave.
Where are they
That's what I'm
going?
saying.
They're going, but they're still going to be calling you. They're still going to be asking for stuff. So why? And I understand the other aspect, whatever, the disrespect aspect that you're working and they got company over and they're not cleaning and everything you built up, they're trashing and all this stuff. So
Don't beat somebody's
yeah,
ass.
it's a wonder why, you understand why some parents say, you got to get the fuck out. You got to go.
Yeah.
So on both sides, I do understand. But at the end of the day, where are they going? Where are they going? So your hands is kind of tied in situations like that. So that's why it's important that you try to have these conversations with them from day one, and you keep trying to school and you keep trying to put stuff in their heads so they can understand. Because I think one of the things is, I don't know if these kids have a fear factor of when things hit off. Like for me working at the high school level, I can always say maybe like in the mid-year 10th grade, something starts to go off with certain kids.
Yeah.
And they realize like, damn, I'm about to be a junior. Like, what am I going to do next? And then you start having some fear of like, damn, shit, this high school, this thing is about to end. I don't have no real plan. And I don't know if these kids really understand. They so fixated in this visual world, these gaming and all that stuff, that they think this is life.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something to that. And what I would advocate for parents to do is to take, they used to have take your kid to work with you day. And I think things of that nature, I know some places still do it, but I think in large part, a lot of adults need to get back into that. Because it reminds me of like the story I told last week when I was hanging out on Buff State campus. I remember the first day of classes, I went to the edge of the hallway and just looked out into the places in between the student buildings, the residence halls. And I saw just hundreds of people just moving about. And I was like, for a lot of these kids, this is the first day of the rest of their lives. They're moving in a direction that's going to ultimately propel them forward. Now, to what? Don't know. When that life is going to end, how it's going to end, don't know. You know, matter of fact, it reminds me of another story. And I believe I told this before. I participated in the DWI whiteface. And I remember that morning coming out of my dorm room, Porter Hall 314. Never forget it. Blacks that didn't know. So when I went to the student union to get something to eat, and I sat alone, people would come up to me and speak, yo, hey, Herb, what's going on? I sat there silent and say nothing. And the people that didn't know would say, yo, what's wrong with him? You're not speaking to me. And the people that knew, they said, well, he's supposed to symbolize a DWI death.
The what?
A DW, driving while intoxicated, DWI.
Mm.
He's not supposed to talk. He's not supposed to interact with anyone. He's supposed to carry on his day as if no one sees him. The next day, people would ask me, they say, why did you do something like that? They said, we don't do that. That's white people stuff. And I asked them, I said, do you know how many people are actually killed by drunk drivers while they themselves are not drunk? Crossing the crosswalk, being T-boned, all of those things. I said, do you think black people don't die in car accidents that are precipitated by people who are driving while they're drunk? I said, it kills me to say this, but as black people, we live a really, really sheltered life. You know, we don't travel outside of our birth cities, and this is for a lot of Americans, but particularly for us, because a lot of us lack the means to travel, you know, to places where we are exposed to a different culture, whether it's food, music, religion, or the big one, language. We simply don't know about it. We don't even access it on TV. Why? Because it, quote unquote, doesn't interest us. So this is one of the reasons why Charles Faulkner advocates for the military, is because it gives you cultural exposure.
Mm-hmm.
All the black men who have served in the military, especially those who have served in the Navy, they will tell you that some of the most interesting times in the ports that they visited were in Asia, specifically Osaka, Japan. I know some have been stationed in, and certainly in Germany. In Germany, black men are treasured.
Oh, yes, they are.
And that goes back to World War II, when the Luftwaffe would, sometimes they didn't always drop bombs, they would drop leaflets. And some of the leaflets were targeted specifically for black men. And some of the leaflets read was, they treat you guys like second-class citizens. Why are you fighting for them? You might as well come here where we will treat you better. And these were specifically targeted for black fighting forces. For as much as people think Germany hated blacks, they actually had a fondness, especially for the Tuskegee Airmen. They respected those men to the point when they were shot down, that they not only were housed with white pilots, they were treated equally as well.
Man. So again, it's so many areas, so many things to look at. And it's always a moment of reflection for us to think about, like, where do you take this? And the reason why we have these talking points, because we know that this shit is going on. So people can try to mask it, and you see it a lot of times. It comes from just surfing social media, and you come up and say, damn, this has been a common theme. People are talking about certain subjects, and we try to bring it to the platform. I've been doing this for years. Actually, in a couple weeks, this will be year 8 that I've been involved in some type of platform talking about these discussions. So I'm not should I always think I should probably be further along, but you only go further as the people that should support you. That's a whole nother subject area, and I don't focus on it because I keep it moving. This train ain't gonna never run out of gas as long as I'm breathing. So gonna keep it moving. But these conversations need to be had, and it need to be a point of you're gonna feel uncomfortable because a lot of conversations are being had are fake conversations that people are sugarcoating shit and they're dancing and dancing around stuff and nothing gets accomplished. And that's why, like, sometimes even in the school system and all that stuff, I mean, we talk a big game, but it's dancing around the mulberry bush. And after you putting in many years, you like, oh, I don't do that anymore. I'm past that point. So you start thinking about other avenues to make moves. But we're not going to belabor that point. We had one more point, but we're not going to get into that. That can always be a carryover, and that is communication for men a lost start when it comes to approaching women. And the reason that talking point came because one of my cousins has said, cousin, you need to write a book about these things that men be coming in women inboxes and they have no clue. They're not certified. They're not qualified. They got no gift, pretty much no gifted gab, no conversation. Talk about that. And I said, well, that's a talking point and we'll talk about it. And she wasn't the only person saying it. A lot of women are saying it to some of the guys that really, they probably don't know or don't understand or don't study women or don't understand the dynamic. I'm not saying I'm the guru of it, but I'm all right. I'm okay. But that's here nor there. We're going to touch on that next week. So that's going to be one of the talking points. And we always usually have 2 or 3 other ones to go along with it. So we're going to get ready to have closing comments on what was said tonight. Something that resonated in your head tonight that you want to give back to the people and focus on and let them leave with that thought.
I will go first. There was something that Anita said that I wanted to add on to. One of the reasons for same-sex marriage was benefits. They were fighting to be entitled to the same benefits that their married heterosexual colleagues were. So for people who don't think, that there's a reason why gay people or people of any walk of life, whatever their sexual identification is, shouldn't be married, I want you to take a good hard look at history and what other, civil rights, if you will, were not allotted to people just based on simple things such as ethnicity. And realize that, as a world and a country, especially Western culture, we're transitioning to a different way of looking at things in a culture all its own. So, next time an individual says that somebody shouldn't have this or somebody shouldn't have that, ask them why. And let them explain it. Don't interrupt them. Let them explain it. And as always, growth and understanding occurs in the gray area. Godspeed. See you next time.
All right. Thanks, brother.
I can't get into the after dark today. Today's not the day.
Well, we look forward to the next Miss Anita's After Dark conversation.
But I will say that I really heard you eating pizza. I'm hungry for pizza. Now I gotta go before Herb eats all the pizza.
Ventry's closed.
I know. But what I will say is,
From the refrigerator.
huh?
This is made with fresh ingredients from the refrigerator.
I know, you better save me a piece. I'll be there in 20 minutes.
Get here quickly.
What I was gonna say is, I like to submit to a man for the most part, and I believe if more women these days understand the concept, maybe relationships would go a little smoother. Not only that, huh?
So you can draw some enemies behind that statement.
Mm.
That's okay. I gotta look in the mirror and get up with myself every day in my decisions. That's all right. But anyhow, I truly believe that it takes a village to raise a children, because everybody brings a certain aspect and certain ideals to that child to raise them. And I think that's important for the family, friends, community, schools, society. I think that's important for children. And at 18, you know, kids don't know nothing about life. What are you going to kick them out for? Unless they're like, what's that word?
Disobedient.
Starts with a D, but
Disobedient.
degenerate.
Oh,
I was going to say a lot of words start with a D. I just couldn't think. Anyway, yeah, unless they're being a degenerate or, you can't turn them around, but it takes discipline. And I think from the conversation that we had today, it sounds like, I don't know, because it's not something I stand for. It sounds like a lot of maybe single mothers or women or families, I don't know, coddle their children rather than raising their children. I believe in respect and discipline and structure.
All right. And it's a lot to be said with the closing. So as I listen to both of y'all speak on your closing comments, sometimes it triggers my closing comments. So when I think about when we think about this whole marriage thing and the different options you have, one of the things is that start of marriage thing looks good too. Whatever, like let's let's keep this quiet. Let's not blow it up, and let's just see how this thing's gonna work out. Let's see if we can really focus on, like I said earlier, on some goals, and let's make this happen, because this union is between us. It's not about the world at this point. And a lot of times people make it about everybody else, and that's when you have the big invitations and all that stuff and the glory and all that stuff. But really, it's two people that got to fight through the struggle on a day-to-day basis. So we better, I'm not saying throw the traditional way out, but we better find ways to work it out and make it happen, that you don't have to do what everybody else do. And then as far as the far as kids, we have to be in their ear. We have to stay on them. And just think, for example, if you have a 18-year-old and they work the job and they, a lot of times they don't give them 40 hours or whatever. But say if they brought home $1,000 a month, which ain't much, but for an 18-year-old, who don't have any kids or anything, what the hell do they really got to spend on? Shit, what if they gave the household $250? That's a bill. That's something that takes away, and they had $750 on their own, but you still have a way to monitor it or whatever the case is, because these kids, they'll eat up $500 of it, and they'll put money into these video games that finds a way to say, oh, if you buy this, or you could create another player and you pay this, they getting money off of that too. So, and sometimes you try to let them have their autonomy, but what if they gave you a solid 250, 300 out of 8,000? I think that's adequate for them to be able to, as long as they're working, as long as they're doing something constructive, they're not out ripping and running, tearing up your house. You go somewhere, they got people running in and out and all that. That may be adequate. That may be adequate for them to say, You have your place, but you're not going to disrespect. No, you're not going to have. If it's a boy, you're not going to have mad females in and out of here. If you're a girl, you're not going to have these different guys coming in here. But I think sometimes we have to give them a little leeway, because I got leeway when I was growing up. I mean, I did the college thing, but putting them out at 18, you're just adding on problems down the road, because at the end of the day, you still don't want nothing to happen to your babies. You don't. And for kids, and I know not too many young people watching this, you better start listening too. You better start listening. You better start thinking about, oh, yeah, oh, y'all always gonna say that. Yeah, I don't understand. This is a different time. All this shit go back full circle. Better start listening, because when your parents die, or whatever the case is, they may not be at the same mental state. There's no one gonna take care of you like they're gonna take care of you, especially the ones that's been taking care of you. Now, I can't speak to all parents. Not everybody has the level of care like that. But you better start being respectful, and you better start listening to their voice of reasoning, because shit ain't the same how it used to be. And we can go on. See, that's the beauty of the counselor's corner, because even the stuff that each one of us said, those are talking points. It's something each one of us said that could be a talking point for the next show. So I ain't gonna go no further with what I said, because I kind of was long-winded, but we're gonna get out of here. Thanks for everybody who chimed in. Thanks for Officer Charles and your expertise and the things that you bring to the table. Thanks for everybody who chimed in the comments and sections, whatever, because we value everything everybody said, good, bad, or indifferent, and that's how we grow. And sometimes these conversations gonna make you feel uncomfortable, and you may toss and turn when you get out of here, like, I can't believe they said that. But
Just like last week, huh?
Yeah. Hey, we all right though. We live to see another week. So with that said, we out. Everybody enjoy the rest of your week. Stay safe. And remember this. There's another fact that I read too. And I know I always talk about sometimes bring up COVID and all that stuff, but I just read some from what's his name? Dr. Fauci. He was saying that 400 people still dying a day in the US from COVID. And then the after effects. People are not thinking about the after effects, the mental stuff that's taking place, long-term stuff that's happening with COVID, whatever. Because y'all think y'all out of it. You think y'all out of the water. Think you can
It's
prance and
migrating.
dance and around, whatever. It's going to be some long-term effects on that shit. People who can't breathe right. They not never got their taste buds right, whatever.
Yeah.
Shit is happening, whatever.
I need
Just
my
be mindful of
taste
that. Be mindful of that. This shit, it ain't over by a long shot. And I don't know. I don't have all the answers, but it's just stuff that I read and come across that I just want to make y'all aware of and just think of, like, shit is real out here.
Mhm.
All right, good
Thank
people.
you guys again for allowing me to participate and
Oh,
learn.
no. You family, you always welcome. So we appreciate your insight that you bring to the table too. And again, this ain't no black show, whatever. We won't. Anybody could come in. The pricks from last week, we could say them, but if they want to come and show face, you can talk all your shit if you want to, if you show face.
They won't.
Yeah. But other than that, we appreciate you, Anita, for what you bring to the table. And hey, invite a friend, and hey, we all for these conversations, because that's what make the world better.
Mhm.
All right, we out, people. Everybody be safe, and see you next time.
All right.
Peace and love. Everybody have a good night. We out.
We out.